Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity, a show about weirdos. With your hosts, John Fahey, Aaron Peter, and Matt Brousseau.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity. It's a show about weirdos, doggone it. My name is John Francis Fahey. I am Johnboy. I am the host of the program. Joining me as ever is Clark Cunt. That one submitted, of course, by Morgan the Woman.
Oh, that's good.
That's really good.
At first, I thought you were going to say Clark Gable.
Oh!
You guys are my men who stare at goat seed.
Yes. Yeah. He's going to put another one in.
Has anyone overlaid like the sun from the Tinky Winky?
Tinky
What's
Winky.
Tinky Winky? Teletubbies?
Teletubbies with that baby face in the sun. And,
Oh,
What are you
God.
Jesus,
This is a wholesome program.
Yeah.
This is
wholesome.
this is a whole
Some holes.
Yeah, I heard that. I wish I didn't, but I did hear that.
That's correct. The goat seed with the most.
Handsome Matt Brousseau.
Oh, hi.
How are you doing?
I am great.
Cape
Yeah,
Cod,
now I
Cape
hear
Cod.
you are the chosen candidate for the lemon party.
That's right. It's sour, but it's good.
Yeah, they keep nominating me,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I'm more of a tub girl guy.
I don't know about those guys. Those guys are always nominating me. Aaron Jospita. I didn't I don't think I said your name.
Everybody.
I just said Clark Cunt.
Well, that's my secret alter ego.
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
They
yeah.
can't use, I mean, a mild-mannered reporter, Clark Cunt.
Yeah, he's not wearing the glasses, so you can't.
Known cuck, Clark Cunt.
And simple-minded cock. Clark Cunt.
Simple-minded cuck, Clark Cunt. Huh? What? Honey? Oh, okay, I'll come back later.
Yeah.
Simple-minded cock.
Yeah. You know those guys, like, the guys in the cuck movies?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're always, like, sitting on the edge of the bed, and they got, like, their head in their hands, and they're like, oh.
And then they start jerking off.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, God. Dude.
Yeah, they're always like,
I mean,
At first, they're so.
What else are you
they're
gonna
so. They got to show the guy being humiliated, because that's how that's supposed to translate.
then it's so hot watching
Right,
or
yeah.
get pleasured. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, you would think the guy would be just like he have his cock out from the get go when the guy rang the doorbell. Yeah, you would think.
There's only one explanation for this.
I ordered a pizza?
In this neighborhood?
No, she ordered a pizza. I'm here to watch her eat it.
Speaking of that sort of thing, I got a gift from our very good friend Chris from Sketch Party.
Hell yeah.
Oh, beautiful, Chris.
And I believe this is somebody ripping on whatever the art style is of the country that does the movie posters. They just watch the movie and make up their own poster.
Oh, like sometimes it's like
Thailand or something.
Well,
sometimes
Poland does that too.
Yeah, Poland, and then some various African republics.
Yeah, I think a lot of countries, you know, I'm guessing France probably makes their own posters because
No,
it's a different language.
No. They use.
Oh yeah, I mean they're what different
Oh, I'm
language.
sorry. You guys are experts in French movie posters now?
Tell me you ever seen a French movie poster that looks like this, Jack?
Jacques.
Okay, here we go.
Boogie. Yes, I have seen that. Oh my God, those boys are ready for
Look at
places.
the bottom.
Wow.
Those are chopped off
Xenomorphs.
Wow.
Yeah. That is almost certainly
Pan out for this one.
Thailand or the
it-
Philippines.
I mean, it kind of looks like
There's a gun on it, so it might be the Philippines.
You know,
I didn't know if it was but that's straight penetration down there.
It's so hot.
it is straight penetration.
And then you got, Alfred Molina's there.
Alfred Molina is why he bought it because we
One of his
love him
favorites.
so much.
Yeah.
Do you think that out of the alien dick, like the pee hole opens and then another little dick comes
There's a
out
little,
of
yeah.
it?
Probably.
At first, I think that's the pre-cum.
I think they're called a penomorph.
Yeah, it looks like there could be a mouth coming out of that one on the bottom,
God, I
bottom,
hope so.
bottom right.
I hope so. I'm thinking this is a Southeastern Asian country.
I think it's a parody of that style.
right.
Yeah.
But
But very nice.
I like
incredible
it.
stuff.
I mean, where are you
mean-
gonna put it up?
I mean, we should maybe possibly even keep it here in the studio.
Yeah, I think that's to have it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, I mean, you're not gonna have fucking girls in
What do you
here.
have, a podcast?
How do you know? It's a very,
teachers?
there's not a lot of reverb. It's a good place to,
All right, we'll put one of your white
Masturbate.
for pleasure.
Listen, we'll put one, we'll cover it up with one of your white power posters.
Deal?
That way, she doesn't get all bent out of shape.
Yeah,
We'll
great.
cover it up
Yeah.
with some
No, it's not a
It would be happy
dirty.
if we took a magic marker and write "Let's go, Brandon" on it.
Yeah. No, it's not a dirty porno poster.
It's art. It's,
What,
French.
it's
It's
my-
French. Tell her it's French. You won't know the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, really. Hey, listen, that's just how they do it in France, lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The alien thing.
They use tits to sell butter on primetime TV.
That's right.
Yeah, every movie poster since Alien came out has had the aliens on it. Just
All right.
in France.
And dicks.
Whoops. Mm-hmm.
I like that the aliens are circumcised.
Yeah,
Like they should be. Yeah, I
But
know.
the little mouse does it.
It's self-circumcision.
Yeah.
Auto circumcision.
Self-circ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's because they're pious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why they don't
Well,
want
we've
these.
seen Prometheus.
Yeah.
Yeah. It all starts there, baby.
Oh, boy.
Isn't that good? I guess I'll put it up in my house, where,
Sure.
so just only hot guys going over there.
I really
Well,
like it, though. I really
poster like
do
that.
like it.
It is quite nice, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive stuff.
Thank you, Chris. That was very sweet.
Because I don't even remember that scene.
Oh, I do.
Oh, yeah, I know. There's a lot of scenes in there that are, hard to remember.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hard to remember.
So, fellas,
Mm-hmm.
Fellas.
Yes, John?
we have what we have here is one of the ones I came across during a previous episode,
Mm-hmm.
and of course going down this rabbit hole, I found another one along the way, and I might save that one for our Patreon, I believe.
Oh, boy.
It's a little bit of a shorter one. It gets a little culty.
Yeah, but it's thick.
Yeah, short, thick.
Mouth coming out of it.
All that ill shit. No, I want to talk about the Black Eagle of Harlem.
Mm.
And this is one when I was
Created by Stan Lee.
no,
Hmm.
no, but cool.
Coming out in theaters
Cool.
soon.
There actually is a documentary about it that is 3.5 hours long, which I would say maybe you could tidy that up. It's not easy when you're doing one of these things to sit down for a nice 3.5 hour movie.
Oh, yeah, guy like you?
Yeah, a guy like me.
Yeah, and then the subject matter, I mean,
Fuck you, dude.
I mean, if they would have to be 2.5 hour parts. That's the only way I could do it. Yeah.
2.5 hour
Yeah,
parts.
that's
So
the-
5.
but I thought you
yeah.
liked it uncut.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that's how all my profiles end up being.
It's true.
So yeah, we're talking here about Hubert Fauntleroy Julian, and I came across him when
Julian was what he went by,
Hubert,
but Julian was the fourth name.
the last name
Oh,
Hubert
okay.
Fauntleroy.
Fauntleroy. He's
Yes.
in the middle. Got it.
You don't see a lot of Fauntleroys around anymore.
No.
No, I mean,
Born 1897, and he died 2 weeks, 3 weeks after. No, wait, 4 or 5 weeks after I was born.
Okay.
In 1983.
are you saying there's a connection there?
No. But
Maybe.
yeah, I think he was like, all right, this guy's got it handled.
Black Eagle.
Yeah.
The Black Eagle has ascended.
So he was from Trinidad and
And Tobago?
no, he's
No.
from Trinidad.
All right.
And he was raised on a cocoa farm his father was a manager of. So he had a little bit more
Cocoa, like chocolate cocoa?
yes.
Okay.
He had a little bit more cash rolling around than
Coca farm. if-
some of the other
Yeah,
kids.
yeah.
And so he could go to like a decent school, and he got to go to an aviation show. And the aviation show he went to, this is in 1913. He went to see the Boland brothers. All those early white American aviators. They were all brothers
Yeah, of course.
for some reason.
Well, it sells the tickets.
White guys, brothers.
Because you think that maybe if one of them crashes, devastate
Yeah, you
family.
gotta have somebody on the ground to tell mom.
Yeah.
I think the Wright brothers actually sent these guys. Once they were finding that they weren't stealing stuff from their patents, they gave the Bolands proper dues. but they were, working with like early biplane type shit. So they went to Trinidad and they're doing a show. And Frank Boland, he was doing this exhibition flight, and Hubert's on the ground and he's completely taken with it. And then Frank just engine goes out and Frank just plummets to the ground and fucking dies in front of this 16-year-old child. 16. And
Fauntleroy sees this.
Fauntleroy sees it up close, baby.
And he goes, yeah, I could probably do better than that.
That's the ticket.
He goes, I want to do that. And so World War I starts, and then he leaves for Canada. And he just starts hanging around the aviation yard. And
good move.
Yeah, he just starts hanging around, and it's I guess probably going to be a little bit cooler because it is Canada for a black man, and also they would be both kind of Commonwealth. I think he spoke with like a little bit of a Brit accent because he had like the better education and stuff. So he goes up with this dude for the first time ever, who's named Billy Bishop, and Billy Bishop was I think maybe the best, most successful flying aviator of World War I, flying for the entire British Empire.
Wow.
He got a Victoria Cross, and he was credited with 72 successful missions. Like, back when they were doing, how it was up there.
Dog fighting with pistols. In the air.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and
they're dropping bombs with their hands.
Yeah.
And he fucking he gets taken up by this dude, and
it's like going up with Maverick.
Yeah, and he gets shown the ropes, and then he starts going up by himself, and he just very, very, very quickly takes to aviation. And after the war ends, there's a lot of aviation business cropping up in the States, of course. Everybody sees that, it's going to go this way. And he came up with a device that would come out during engine trouble when you pulled a lever, and it would ignite a umbrella and take the plane safely down. He came up with
a parachute for the plane.
A parachute for the whole plane, but it was like, I think, the first parachute at all. But he was like, as an aviator, he's going like, well, you got to save the plane.
Yeah. I believe.
But also, these planes aren't that heavy back then. They're all made out of wood,
canvas.
Yeah.
Sounds like something the Penguin would make.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did Da Vinci have like a triangular parachute at one point?
That was actually his helicopter.
Right. Okay.
And it had kind of like a corkscrew, like instead of blades, it had like almost a corkscrew canvas that went up. I mean, it didn't work, but like he understood the principle of increasing air pressure below the vehicle.
Gotcha.
To lift it up on a cushion of high pressure air.
And there were people who had experimented with parachutes, like the guy who jumped off the Eiffel Tower. And it didn't work.
But maybe he might have also had a parachute too, but I'm thinking of the helicopter.
Right.
He did have a parachute. It's also, what are you going to jump off of?
Yeah.
Right.
So they called that the aeroplane safety appliance because Hubert's name for it was the Parachuta Grave Pre-Resistra.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, but it's got parachute in it.
So instead of shortening it to parachute, they went with
aeroplane safety appliance.
Perfect.
Well, it's Canada.
Yeah, that's it.
So he goes, he leaves Montreal, and he's like, and he goes to Harlem, and he meets Marcus Garvey. And
okay.
You know Marcus Garvey?
Of course, yeah. He tried to as a kind of a Back to Africa movement.
Yes, and so he was the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, and declared himself provisional president of Africa.
Yes,
and
he would I think he would march with all of these like fake like medals on that.
Gotta love the badges.
Yeah. He's a profile worthy character.
So this was a thing where meeting him, I think, with that in mind, what you just said. He starts calling himself Lieutenant Hubert Julian of the Royal Canadian Air Force. 100% not true. Just not true. And he even gets like a fake military uniform tailored.
It's the like ultimate version of I've got a girlfriend in Canada.
Yeah.
She's a model. Like, she can come to the dinner.
I'm in the Royal Canadian Air Force. Oh, what division? The brave one.
Yeah. In Canada.
I've got a rank in Canada. Yeah.
So yeah, he gets into the Garveyism, and he then does at Curtis Field in Long Island with Bessie Coleman.
Hey.
Oh, okay.
That was where I came across this guy.
Uh-huh.
He did a parachute jump, so he had somebody come up with him
To watch him die.
Yeah.
Check me out. Hold my beer. Hold my Molson.
So then he hooks up this guy Clarence Chamberlain, who he was a white guy, but he was
One of the good ones, though.
he was interested in actually investing in black aviation and stuff, and he saw that this guy was, he's a go-getter, and he's I think he was one of the first people to ever sail across the Atlantic with like a single passenger, first transatlantic Chamberlain, Hubert very much wanted to do that.
Wait, fly across?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Oh, not
Yeah.
sail.
No, fly, yes.
Okay.
And so Clarence Chamberlain kind of like taught him how to really fine tune his flying and like really handle an aircraft and stuff like that. And he flew Hubert up above Harlem, where Hubert proceeded to parachute out several times.
Holy shit.
The most famous is which he wore a red jumpsuit while playing Runnin' Wild on a saxophone.
That's fucking amazing.
Which your buddy invented.
Yeah, which Adolph Sachs invented.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had no idea it'd be used for such a cool act.
Can you imagine looking out like your 50th fucking story?
And there's a guy.
There's a guy coming down. And he had a thing, too.
Is it Jesus?
Where he actually could sort of direct it. I think he had like a little motor on it or something where it could like blow. I don't know what it would, but he could basically kind of steer. So he could really kind of slow down this whole thing.
The song's not over yet.
Yeah.
Well, you can kind of, there's probably like some pull tabs where,
Yeah.
opens up and closes
and there was one story where like, oh man,
it's Raining Black Men with saxophone.
And
It's
so
Christmas.
I think it kind of misfired one time, and he ended up on the roof of the police station in Harlem.
Oh boy.
And then H. Allen Smith, who wrote for
Arrested from trespassing.
wrote for the paper, he declared Julian the Black Eagle of Harlem. And
Did he play any other songs? Just one.
that's the only one I heard of.
One trick pony.
He would play a gold-plated saxophone in 1923 while cascading down from the air.
Sank like a rock.
Yeah.
That explains why the Depression was coming. Gold-plated saxophone.
So in 24, he's with Chamberlain. They're like, let's do a transatlantic flight. We'll go down to Florida, then the West Indies, then it'll be Central America, Brazil, and in the middle of the Atlantic, St. Paul's Rock. And then it'll be
West Africa.
Liberia.
Mm.
And so they got this one of those pontoon planes or whatever, and he names it the Ethiopia. And there's thousands of people on the 4th of July on the banks of the Harlem River, and a bunch of the investors, they're all paid off, and he just takes off. And a few minutes go by, and you realize one of the pontoons filled up with water.
Oh, that's not going to help.
Which throws it all off balance, and he crashed into Flushing Bay, and the trip was called off.
Well, that's probably the best thing that could have happened if crashing to the trip is called off as opposed to
better than being over the Bermuda Triangle.
Another trip was postponed because somebody attacked his plane while stored at Happyland Park.
Oh, that's a real misnomer.
And after Amelia Earhart did it, he was just like, you know what, fuck it.
If she can't do it, I mean, she was quite a noted pilot. So when these things are funded, do you know, like,
that would all be like Garvey and the United Negro Improvement Association.
Right. Okay.
And so because of like the great he was very good at showing off and making crazy claims and stuff like that. And so he said,
I'm one of the baddest motherfuckers of all time.
yeah, and he had a reputation, and it seemed to be kind of backed up that nobody really doubted he might be in the fucking Canadian Air Force, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's jumped out of planes playing saxophone,
and because of I think intermediaries from Jamaica and stuff like that, Haile Selassie gets wind of him.
Who's this?
Haile Selassie, who is the leader of the Ethiopian Empire.
Oh.
And over there, they just have like like a couple of planes, and he asks Julian to come perform, and he does this amazing performance where he ends up like parachuting right down at Haile Selassie's feet. Upon landing, Haile Selassie makes him a citizen of the country and promotes him to colonel. All right?
Could you imagine just landing in his face? Now I know. Like it's comic booky.
Well, it was one of those things where it was like, I think it was like maybe like shortly before his kind of like coronation as, the leader. And so then he has him back for the actual coronation. And
gives him the heart-shaped herb.
No. His actual plane that was a gift from Haile Selassie's plane that was a gift from some company in England. Hubert Julian ends up crashing at the coronation in front of like thousands of people, like Haile Selassie trying to impress. He is asked to leave the country shortly after, and
please leave.
Yeah. But then when the Italians are invading for the Second World War, fucking Hubert just flies right back to help.
He probably does he have the only plane in Ethiopia? I mean, can't be that many planes.
Was there like
no? He had one of 4 planes in Ethiopia that he crashed.
Oh, okay.
So he took down 25% of Ethiopia's air force, and the president's personal plane.
Yeah.
So it's
what did the president be like? There's only one man for the job. Get me the Black Eagle.
I think no.
And then his phone rings. It's like, what?
No, I think he went just unbidden. He was just like, I'm here to help.
Oh God, those stories are always like nobody asked.
No. He got a commission to help defend the kingdom.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got 3 planes, and this guy's your colonel. You kind of have to do it.
How many people know how to fly?
Like it's always like when Sean Penn goes to, Hurricane Katrina,
right.
or like, I'm here to help. It's like, shut up.
Just donate money to the people who know what they're doing.
Yeah.
This guy knows what he's doing. He's flying planes.
So there's another American over there from Chicago, John C. Robinson. And he's like from Tuskegee, like one of the founders of Tuskegee Airmen and stuff. And they got into a fist fight, and him and Hubert, and so it looks like fucking Il Duce is gonna make it in, and so fucking Hubert bails, right? And
that's that Canadian Air Force.
Well,
no, but then he came back and he as a volunteer in the East African campaign of 40 to 41. So while he's stateside, he puts together like this all black air show called the William Powell's 5 Blackbirds. And they would go around California and the Midwest, just doing like air show type stuff.
Because now they're definitely not flying the biplanes anymore, right? Now they're flying.
Yeah. They're definitely getting more fancy.
I don't know. They might be flying. Biplanes are still used as like trick planes.
Sure, yeah, that's true.
So maybe I don't know, but
I think they're kind of more like what you're going to see, throughout the Second World War.
Okay, so like
propeller planes, with they're all propeller planes.
Yeah, but metal.
Yeah.
Perhaps there might be metal in it.
There might be this new thing.
So then there is what is considered, I guess, one of the greatest black film producer of the first half of the 20th century. This guy, Oscar Michaud. He
EAUX?
Yeah, correct. And he helps he starts helping fund distribution for 2 of his films. So he's just involved with Black Enterprise. And he's also doing private flights for this guy, Father Divine. And Father Divine is a guy that is, supposed to be God.
Oh boy!
And we're gonna save that for the Patreon because once you find out about Father Divine, you're not clicking on that.
So
link.
This is like an early version of the Lolita Express, is what you're saying?
No, it's actually not really that sketchy. It seems.
Okay.
It seems, but who's to say?
Tune into the Patreon to find out.
So during what they call the Winter War, the Finns and the Soviets, Julian and a bunch of Americans they leave to just go help, and then I guess he just didn't see any action. He probably forgot his skis, and so he gets out.
Shit!
I knew I forgot he's halfway over the Atlantic.
I had a feeling I was.
We gotta go back.
And then he hears about Hermann Göring and Hitler saying that black people are like apes and stuff like that, and he challenges Göring to like an aviation duel. And of course he's not going to do that above the English Channel. but it really hyped up Julian. You know, everybody was like, "Look at this guy, man." And then Pearl Harbor happens, and Julian is in his 40s now, and he enlists in the military.
Late 40s or mid.
Yeah. Born 97, 1897. So he serves less than a year, becomes an American citizen, but he's discharged because of his age.
Oh Christ! Yeah, he wasn't even an American citizen.
And so he gets his rank is private first class, not a colonel, not anything.
Oh boy, real tough break.
So then he's got this idea that he's gonna start flying around the world, you know, supply planes and stuff like that.
This is during the war?
No, this is like in the 50s now.
Okay, so we're now in the Korea Cold War era.
Yeah, but he's just got, you know, and so he gets, you know, some wind of the government of Guatemala with like some military boots and stuff like that.
Would they like a man with a saxophone?
No, they don't need that.
Oh.
That's the Arbenz government, and so, you know, at the time they were the democratically elected government. It was no big deal. But there was a thing where they freed up their land for the poor people. So now they're communist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Eisenhower's like, he can't give them fucking anything.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, he's like, yeah, no problem. And he just ordered them like fucking 8 like cannons, and they're coming straight, you know, there. And so he gets in heaps of trouble. But he's made so much money. In the ensuing years, yeah, I think like
by flying the military equipment down there.
Yeah, anything they want. He's like, just tell me what you want.
Yeah.
He's kind of like an arms dealer.
And yeah, he was. He was a licensed arms dealer. He applied to be.
Wait, you can apply for that?
Yes.
Yeah, man. How do you think we get all that shit to Ukraine?
I didn't think like an individual.
It's not made by the United States government. It's not like Raytheon. And
I know that, but this is just a guy.
Tony Stark was an arms dealer.
Yeah, but you got to start somewhere.
Well, yeah, but I didn't realize.
They have conventions for these things.
Well, his thing was like, it was simple stuff like, where like, he would see like, oh, it's military boots, and he's like, okay, well, this fucking place in Manhattan makes those.
Right.
So he's like, I'm just gonna buy it for a nickel and sell it for a dime.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of simple stuff like that, but then after that, it's like, all right, well, I want this certain kind of cannon or whatever, and it's like, all right, well, then he would just go and find it, you know, he's traveled, man, he's got a plane.
Yeah, it's a little easy.
And so he kind of knows how to find it, and then he would be like, all right, just get it from there. So he just becomes even like a middleman where he's not even necessarily got to fly these
it's
things.
vertically integrated, man.
But the cannons are supposed to go straight there. There is a bungle up, cock up.
A fracas?
Yeah. And they go straight to New York.
Oh.
The cannons
go to New York.
Go to New York. And then some inspector goes, oh, where are these cannons going? They go Guatemala. And he's like, no, they're not. And so then Julian gets flagged, and they take away his passport, and then he just does this long campaign where he's like, look, dude, they weren't fucking communists when I started, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I think after a few months, they just give it back to him. They're kind of like, all right, no more of that. Because then they can also see that he's also selling arms to Fulgencio Batista, who is certainly not a communist.
Yeah.
Right.
And once the government was the CIA overthrew the Arbenz government in Guatemala, by the way.
Oh yeah.
What?
Hubert Julian immediately offered to do business with that guy.
Well, you know, he just wants to do business. He has these cannons. He's got to get rid of them.
You know, regimes come and go.
Right.
Business. Actually, what happened was,
tell us what happened.
He kind of he started rolling around in a Rolls Royce. He started talking about like, you know, I got more in my pocket than most people make in a year. The reporters are all over him. And he's like, yeah. He's like, you know, I do some business with them, but it's best not to talk about it. And like, people are like, what are you doing? Shut up.
Yeah.
Because you're talking to reporters. Do you know what they do?
Report.
They report.
They're famous for being snitches.
Yeah. For money. To everyone.
Yeah.
So then the Arbenz government finds out, like, oh, you're making all this money that you can drive a Rolls Royce, and he goes, yeah, man.
Wait, what are you, a commie?
Yeah.
And he goes, here's the thing, dude. He goes, I sold you those cannons, but I didn't give any shells for them. So then the Arbenz government is like, okay, we're sorry. And he's got to come groveling back.
You're the colonel.
And then it's actually with the shells that go into Manhattan, and that's what he gets caught with.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, then he is, he's doing it up with Fulgencio Batista, and then also there was this guy in the Congo whose name is Moshe something, and he was Moshe Sambe, and he was doing some shit where like he was trying to do like a Congo within the Congo, so he could just like kind of like get some more money out of the mining.
It's like a double Congo.
You know what I'm saying? Like he
It's
was
a Congo line.
Yeah,
he was trying to just create like a false republic, you know. So he was also doing business with that guy, and
Was he selling him those guns that with the diamonds that shoot lasers with the apes that can talk? Remember the motion picture Congo?
oh yeah,
Based
yeah,
off the
yeah.
Michael Crichton novel Congo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a district called Katanga, and so they were trying to secede during the early '60s, and the UN was totally against it, and of course, you know, he's diving in there with whatever the fuck they need, and
He's an opportunist.
he was
And this is a saxophonist.
Yeah.
and he was jailed for 4 months, I think, by the United Nations forces, and then his wife appealed to JFK and RFK, and they got him out, and they got him to come home.
And he was in like The Hague or something. The UN.
Yeah, they might have imprisoned him like just in
the
Congo.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Because he was arming this separatist group.
yes, and they were like very much seen as like not nationalist, very much put in by the Belgians.
To sow discord.
Yeah, just to secure minds.
Yeah.
You know.
They're a puppet.
And so what?
The Belgians.
What's going on with him?
Oh, the Belgians.
The Belgians, man.
He had a lot of, you know, kind of bogus claims, right, throughout his life, of course, and he was always just a showman.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so much, like, in this Black Eagle of Harlem documentary that they're like, yeah, is this fucking true? Is
Right.
this? And, like, so it's a lot of filtering.
Some people say he was a colonel in the Canadian Army, but was he?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, he wasn't.
Yeah.
And those people are him.
And I'm going to get to the end of his life, but I want to take a quick break first, and we'll be right back. And we're back.
Hey, this is brought to you by the new Mick Ultras.
Yes.
The new MK Ultra is so good it'll wash your brain. Naturally flavored.
Rotate for flavor.
That's right. You just got to turn it around.
Jack for flavor.
Maybe.
It's not at all brought to you by that, by the way.
Well,
No, we're brought to you by...
Unless they want to give us money.
or just free. Shit.
Yeah. Then we'll tell anybody to buy it, kids.
Yeah. We'll buy it for them. Promo code us.
Promo code Meet Me by Sevs.
Made with organic coconut water. So,
Yeah, fuck that.
pretty good. Pretty good. You can hydrate while getting loaded.
So for the rest of Hubert Julian's life, Fauntleroy, of course, he basically would retire.
Retire from the gun running and the...
He had enough money, and now I think it was just kind of a thing like it's time to keep a low profile.
Yeah.
The Rolls Royce guy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he did get arrested. That might have changed his like perception of...
Sure.
Yeah, like $200,000 in that times money.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah, he was doing okay.
You
And he
invest it right?
And he only ever had like one son. He was married, for years to him, and he knew from his childhood in Trinidad, Essie. And when she passed away, he remarried and then had a son.
Mm-hmm.
But he would have been decently older by then.
Mhm.
But that'd be like that would be the 1970s. But his son's still around, still talks, and when his son was asked about the political dealings and stuff, and he was just like, "Dude, my dad just cared about money."
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
the Rolls Royce guy, yeah.
And it's funny too because he still was involved in a lot of that Negro Improvement Association stuff with Garvey and all that, but it's still that time in America too, dude, where like you really, and a lot of people, even that were like the leaders of whatever, whether it's Father Divine or Garvey himself, there's a lot of like, I need to look out for myself here too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
But he would defend it, and he would say like, I dealt with whoever was the legally sanctioned government of whoever.
Right.
And I whatever they were doing in their country is their business.
Yeah, I didn't tell him how to run the country.
I'm a licensed arms dealer. Like, that's my thing, man.
They're the head of state. They weren't a rebel group or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, I don't live in the fucking Congo. How do I know?
I'm not the CIA. I don't arm the rebels.
Yeah.
Those guys are good.
Yeah.
In later years, he would have he would go on Carson. He would go on Merv Griffin.
We were just here that.
There's pictures of him meeting Muhammad Ali. He was a huge celebrity, you know. And you know the guy's got fucking stories. If you start with parachuting over Harlem
With a
playing
saxophone, things only
are gonna get more and more interesting.
Yeah.
But he did do his first transatlantic flight in 1929. But you know, by then he kind of thought, you know, the hype had died down. But he did do it, and that's, you know, how he became, you know, one of those guys that was, you know,
I'm not doing it.
dropping in and visiting guys like Haile Selassie and stuff like that. It's really funny that he was like just like lauded immediately soon after deported. You know, you crash one plane and they're like, take your stripes, your citizenship, everything. And then he keeps going back.
He took out a quarter of our fleet.
Yeah.
And
this was our Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And
are we being attacked?
So when he was stripped of all that stuff and then he still like flew back unbidden to help Selassie out, people were like, what are you doing? And he's like, that guy really kind of made me actually like esteemed on the national stage. Like I can't leave him with his fucking dick in the wind, basically, you know?
Well, I mean, if you're flying.
I got to repay my debt tenfold.
Oh, speaking of that,
10 planes.
there was a thing over Atlantic City.
Speaking of dick in the wind.
Yes.
Yeah.
He did get his dick in the wind. He was perhaps the first nude parachutist.
Wow.
Not by choice.
He was trying to work the saxophone.
The drag on his prodigious member slowed him down to a safe, comfortable speed.
He was playing the skin flute this time.
He was parachuting into Atlantic.
Woodwind.
Very good. Very good. Atlantic City, and this wind blows over the Atlantic Ocean, and he's getting pushed out to sea. He doesn't want to ruin his clothing, so he then starts holding the parachute with his teeth as he disrobes.
Wait,
that is like, listen, man. You know, I'll rip open a thing of beef jerky with my teeth. You know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my hands. This guy's like, let me hold on to this parachute with my teeth.
Yeah. And then
Jaws from Moonraker.
Well, the jaw is pretty
and then they said,
strong.
So then he gets down. He gets down to his underwear, and they said that another strong blast of wind blew his undershirts off.
Clean off,
making him the first nude parachutist.
Wait, so was he in the plane? Like, he didn't want to ruin his clothes, and what?
No. He jumped out of a plane.
But he didn't want to ruin his clothes
by landing in the water.
Yes.
But where did his clothes go?
Right.
Did he hold them?
He would hold them. Yeah.
Like above his.
Yeah.
That's fine. Did he do the thing where he like pulls the pants over his head?
He maybe had an overhead compartment.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is all making sense.
Well, you got to be careful because some items may have shifted during.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, he lands, and I mean, there's got to be a clever saying, like a hell of a wind up there.
It's like, I got to get these clothes off. I'm gonna shit my pants.
Kid, first guy to shit while parachuting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think I've seen that.
Someone's done it.
Yeah.
Sickos.
No, man, come on, it's scary.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, if they took their pants off and then did it, it was like premeditated.
Oh yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it.
So I think part of the thing too with the guy from Chicago in the fist fight is that he's an American too, in the the Ethiopian Air Force, and you could but I think there's maybe ideas that Hubert was maybe trying to embezzle funds from the Air Force,
the weapons dealer, you say?
Yeah, and that's maybe why he left so quickly when Franco was coming in. Not Franco, excuse me, Il Duce.
Yeah.
So I think maybe there was tension there that was like professional jealousy, rivalry, or whatever, and also maybe he really was sketchy. Who knows?
Maybe he didn't have the best interest of Ethiopia in mind.
He also did in 1931. He was doing whiskey to the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
From Canada.
Nice.
I mean, fuck those bootleggers with their silly cars with the fake fake wood
And
windows
even
and
after
stuff.
all that, the Kennedys still got him out of jail.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's convenient.
And I think
The Kennedys. I mean, maybe he was getting them.
Well, the rumor is that Pops Kennedy was.
It's not a rumor. It's fact.
No, it's not completely fact.
Oh, dude, come on. It's fact.
thanks, man.
There was it's not confirmed that the guy named Kennedy was their dad Kennedy, who's the bootlegger.
Oh.
I mean, they had a lot of money, man. Where'd they get that money?
Stock market.
He did have a lot of wise investments. That is true. And
Yeah,
very
you know what a good
documented.
wise investment is?
Pooch. Yeah. I mean, it could just be, one of those scurrilous rumors, you know what I mean? The Irish were funded by booze. Very, how creative of you, Aaron.
Well, this way it brought them up to everyone else's level instead of dragging them down.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Not like those noble fucking fascist Spaniards over there looking the other way and hoping nobody fucking minds.
Oh, anybody ever calls them as swarthy colonizers, bringing, smallpox to the wonderful Native Americans who didn't have syphilis and weren't eating each other.
Well, when you put it that way,
Were they eating each other?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a big concept.
No idea.
Some of them are eating each other.
Maybe like in up there and
Down there.
down there?
Yeah.
Oh, and way down there?
Yeah, by the Chattahoochee.
Okay. Well, let's get it's hotter than a hooker's pussy down there.
You'll eat anything.
I don't know. I got sense. It's too hot. I thought this was Gita. But yeah, the Goring thing was a great move.
right?
You know?
Publicity.
Yeah, and it was just a thing too, where like when he first comes to the States, obviously like he went to I think he could get a license, and the only people like black person that would walk in there would be doing something with food.
Right.
And the guy like laughed him out, like being like, "It's no fucking way." Like
a plane license?
Airplanes in there in that day, like in the 20s, 23, whatever, 24, like you wouldn't even be allowed to land at an airport if you were black. I don't know how they could tell. You know what I mean? If some of these guys had
they could tell.
Well, he was jumping out of the plane with his clothes off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he would have the white guy land.
Well,
It's true.
You can tell because like white guys always fly like this, but black guys.
That guy's like that.
Yeah. Wouldn't they just have like a white dummy up front waving to air traffic
They
control?
got the autopilot from Airplane. Kareem's behind.
But yeah, it's also what I'm hyping about the thing in Patreon about Father Divine is that it was a very insular community, and there was a lot of black folks cooperating with each other who especially for coming out of Depression times were doing quite well.
Yeah.
A lot of cooperation, fucking just taking care of people that fell on hard times and then bringing them in, and so there was also like money to go around, just in the black community for Black Aviator. He could get all of his contracts, from some of these handful of well-to-do people.
Yeah.
But also he did, he's showing up, he's pretending to be Canadian royalty, he's got the British accent, so and there was, also, to their credit, there was a handful of Italian guys and just regular old white Americans that were down to promote
Regular old whites.
well, you know what I mean, like
White wasp. White Anglo-Saxon.
yeah. A guy named Chamberlain, is
Right.
pretty as white as it gets.
Well, a guy like Lawson who's involved in
But
early aviation
and they were
stuff.
just kind of like, whoever's got the balls to go do crazy aviation stuff and the know-how.
Yeah.
Let's do business.
Yeah, and I think the difference between him and someone like Alfred Lawson, who did a couple flying things and then tried to go bigger and bigger and bigger and then stopped doing stuff.
Yes.
Like this guy continued to fly.
Yeah.
Which made it so much easier to build a reputation of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the other stuff, like I'm saying, like with, some of his Italian benefactors, he also had, like the whiskey would definitely be mafia related.
Of course.
And then I think he found out they were also pushing drugs in there too. So I think.
And how did he feel about that? Do we know?
It just said that he discovered that.
Yeah, when he took a
And
sip.
then he bought a Rolls Royce.
Yeah. And then he parachuted naked.
So it's one of those things, though. It's like, he he really comes up against so many brushes in so many different ways, against so many different groups of people.
Yeah.
That should kind of want his head. And he just
But
knows
he's
how to
useful.
bounce
I mean,
around.
like, being useful is, well, it's useful.
And he could talk himself out of a lot of stuff. The Congo thing really woke him up. It was the first time he wasn't able to talk himself out of something.
Right.
And he was only in prison for 4 months. But that
Only.
Yeah.
I know. We've had this discussion.
It's not a judgment on you, but like he was in a Congolese prison for 4 months.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure,
No, we don't know anything. It could have been a really nice time.
Yeah, I'm guessing not.
No, probably.
Yeah.
Like you.
I'd rather be jumping out of planes naked than this.
Yeah. 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 I mean, at that point, there was already, accounts of tribes eating each other in the Congo.
Yeah.
Then, so I'm sure it was a pretty hair raising
Had
for
the
him.
Spanish come in, you know.
Almighty.
What? Put an end to that right away. If anybody's eating anybody, it's us eating the body of Christ.
And drinking.
And drinking the blood.
And the piss.
And well, if there's time.
Can we eat Christ's shit, sir?
If you want to be extra saved. This is our saved plus.
Sir. Sir, permission to eat his shit.
Corporal Copperfish, is that you? We call him Colonel, not why you think. The maze.
You think any of the early followers are like, I think Jesus just took a shit over.
Come on, let's go check it out.
Let's go check it out.
I'm hungry. Check it out. Eat it up.
But yeah, I mean,
That's some holy
This isn't
shit.
the turd of a carpenter.
so yeah, I'm fascinated by this guy because I'm like, how much of it was bullshitting? How much of it was seeming foreignness?
Wait. So we haven't gotten to the end of his life.
The very end, he dies just in like a military hospital in 1983. Very quiet.
Wait, so he gets he's
He retired as a private, first rank private.
right. So wow, so he's still okay. So
Yeah.
okay. So he was honorably discharged then. I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, he really always volunteered to fight.
Yes,
and
right.
it earned him his U.S. citizenship.
Yes,
I mean, he volunteered
yes.
to fight in Ethiopia twice. He volunteered to fight in Finland. He volunteered to fight just as because I think his plane know-how came into effect, but I think he was not like in the Air Force.
Really?
Yeah. I think he was like in the fucking Marines or something. And then he just had to get out like out of sheer age. They had to discharge.
Right, yeah.
But by then it was like 45 too. So it was like
Yeah, what are you going to do?
I mean, I think originally the Air Force was the Navy.
For the United States,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
our Air Force was the Navy, and in fact, the Air Force.
The Navy's the one that dropped the bombs, not even the Air Force.
Because there was no USAF at the time, or it was very nascent. That I think the second largest Air Force in the world is the U.S. Navy, next to the U.S. Air Force.
yeah.
Priorities.
Well, yeah, I mean in the Navy.
No, anyways.
What,
Anyway, where are you going?
It's funny. Like, when you say that stupid thing my grandfather used to say, like it was join the Navy, see the world, join the Air Force, see the next one.
Yeah.
And in reality, the truth is, if you're on one of those boats, dude, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're getting fucking fucking torpedoed by the fucking German subs down there. What do you think? There's a bunch of lifeboats?
Right. No, I mean
that's like most of
the
them.
U-boats were devastating.
I would guess, like, compared to anything like, the beaches, it's. I would guess most of the infantry deaths are naval in the Second World War. Check me on that.
That's a good for the U.S.
For the U.S.
No, I would.
I don't know. I feel like
I would say so.
I feel like there maybe
Yeah.
I mean,
weren't as many. I mean,
What are you gonna go row? That's that. That shit's going down.
yeah,
baby.
but there's more people getting gunned down.
I think there was just
in a
more
pincer movement.
feet boots
Yeah.
on ground than there were boots in subs
Yeah,
or on
yeah,
boats until after WW2. But the casualty rate maybe I honestly
Imagine
have
Kaiser.
no clue.
I would be curious to see. I think it's kind of unsung. I would say,
naval deaths in World War II.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean the U-boats were devastating.
It doesn't make for a good movie.
I mean, that's,
You know what I mean?
U-571?
Yeah.
I think it does.
Yeah,
That's like, but like, I was saying, like, just like a big ship going down and nobody.
Yeah. The Titanic wasn't the biggest movie of all time. Doesn't make for a good movie. Hello. John. It doesn't make for a good movie, big ship going down? Hi.
I mean, I'm talking about.
It was a sad day with that great
I'm talking
ship
about
like
a
that.
war movie, not a disaster film.
Well, they fought the iceberg one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, I would
Rematch.
I guess we're off topic now, but I would say that we lost more infantry than men in boats.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be my guess too, just because of just the disparity in numbers, not in actual like per capita death rate.
And
I mean, if your boat gets torpedoed, you're all dead.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, but I just don't think there were that many boats until after.
Just like all around Japan, dude. That's like all those islands and shit, bro.
Yeah, but the German U-boats were more dangerous than what the Japanese Navy was doing.
What, crashing planes into them?
But also, they said the same thing. They would say the same thing about, Tiger tanks versus the Sherman. Was that like, yeah, there were the Tiger tanks could take out 10 Shermans, but there were 100 Shermans for every Tiger.
Yeah. Right.
So
and the Panzers, they're flipping like little raptors all around.
Oh,
doing wheelies.
Yeah.
They would come in on one wheel sometimes. The
That's
Panzers,
pretty cool, man.
shooting up at the sky, shooting down planes.
No.
That's.
I mean,
lies.
but if you got that option, why not? Or doing the thing where they shoot.
They're coming going, ausgezeichnet. Ah!
Maybe they shoot at the ground so they could fly.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
That's fucking cool.
this one's called a Dumbo.
It's like they're like the whole.
Sounds like a Yosemite Sam situation. Flying is scary, but I think honestly being on the ocean is scarier.
Yeah.
But then you can land your plane on an aircraft carrier, so you get best of both worlds.
There's some kind of looking around and parachutes or aeroplane safety appliance.
Amazing that was the.
Hold it with your teeth.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine it's strapped in a little bit too, But
so many opportunities for this guy to die.
Yeah. But also
to live to a ripe old age, you don't see it coming for this guy.
Well, it's kind of like he earned even the fake bullshit. Like he kind of like
earned it.
Oh yeah, you earned the right to lie.
Yeah,
Or to embellish.
embellish.
Listen,
Yeah, I'm a
that's
fucking
fine.
colonel. Like the Canadians would be like, yeah, he's not a fucking colonel, but if he wanted to fly our planes, we would let him. I guess. Like it's like
Well, yeah, that's the thing you can say about fucking Frank Abagnale.
Right.
Did he not earn it? Like,
yeah.
Well, there is a lot of dispute about how much truth he was telling in his stories.
what, when he was flying a plane through the sky with passengers? How are you gonna fucking fake your way out of that?
Well, there's another pilot on the plane,
Right, but you can't.
Yeah, but
you
he's an
can't be sick.
inflatable-
or you could be the third pilot, the guy who sits in the chair, and while the other two guys fly.
Well, they might be pilots.
They might be. Who's to say?
I heard there were 21 pilots.
This guy was definitely a pilot. We know that.
Yes.
There are no stone temples around here. We are just pilots.
I just can't believe his first flight is with the most successful pilot of the entire British Empire, possibly.
Yeah, it's
like,
the,
what the fuck?
I guess it would be the Allied Red Baron type of thing.
Yeah, and he's just all he's doing is just hanging around the airstrip. Like,
Well, that used to be that's the thing that
go to what you want to do.
Yeah.
just hang around there till they hire you. It's like, well, now not so much.
Yeah. Now they call the cops on you.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe, who knows? Maybe even then he was bullshitting him.
Maybe, but it was.
Or maybe it was just like, hey, kid,
there was nothing else. Yeah.
let's go up.
Yeah, and also there are some people who are really good at they become good teachers just because they are excited to talk about the thing.
Yeah.
And they want to tell people about it. And maybe that was the perfect guy to go up with because he's like, oh, like hey, this is this, and he's just so excited about flying that he's willing to just share everything with this kid because he loves just talking about flying.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the perfect guy.
There's a roll of dice
And-
of like
and then-
finding somebody who's as excited about
Yeah.
you as you are.
And also knowing that kid is going to be like, my first exposure to it was a guy dying. And you go like, man, you really mean it, don't you? Because I am.
Most people are shied away.
Yeah, most people go like, fuck that. It's like the guy who like blows his hands up for firecrackers, and then you're like, I want to get into pyrotechnics. You're like, what?
Well, 'cause
It's awesome.
Most
you know what the price is.
Most people are walking away from that air show in Trinidad going,
Let's take the boat.
Why are they doing this?
Okay, let's join with Tobago and we just do both.
And but in his recounting of it, he's just going he's just talking about the glory of the few minutes that he was going up and doing crazy shit. And he goes, then his engine goes out, and you're like, can't really blame him.
It's not his fault.
It's not supposed to go out.
Someone saw Icarus fall to his death and went, feathers. That's actually until the crash.
Yeah,
that
it was
a
his
pretty
dad.
It was a pretty good idea.
That's kind of true, too, right? If he's thinking about what if Frank had the airplane safety appliance.
If only he had the parachute.
It's kind of a really fucking, man, that's really sad in a way.
Well, then no, I mean, he goes
like thinking about trying to save your hero and then making a thing that could have done it.
Well, no,
Jesus
Christ. That's an origin story.
Yeah, that's an origin story right there. Yeah.
Fuck.
I mean, that's, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
If only I was a professional wrestler.
If only I stuck to wrestling, I would have been able to make enough money.
It's absolutely an origin story, and that's it's pretty good.
It's pretty good stuff. He's a real wild man.
Yeah, and to live, just being 80.
Like, and how about this too? Like, they must have come to some conclusion along the lines of what his son said. When I say they, I mean the CIA, because you don't let this guy just kind of live out his days in the States. If you're like, where does he stand and with who? Like, they must have been like, this guy is just a sheer capitalist.
Yeah. And that we can trust.
Yeah, that's the
so long as we pay him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, he's 80 and he's in a bed.
Well, no, I mean, by the time he retired, it was shortly after that stuff. Yeah, I guess 60s. So, yeah, he's 60.
Yeah, so I mean,
65.
6-year-olds can get a lot of stuff done. At least make some phone calls.
Yeah.
And I guess he's probably getting some kind of pension and stuff.
And he made some wise investments. He saw the Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of that northern coast of South America stuff going on at the time.
Yeah.
But
God knows how many things this guy did that we just never heard of.
Right.
And this guy was a loudmouth, but I'm sure there was just a lot of stuff where he was like,
I'm only loud about those things, so you don't ask about the other ones.
Yeah. There's a thing there too, though, where you go people are like, why is he talking? And you go at that point, it was just kind of important to show somebody that you could be an important, rich black businessman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is important. Yeah. You know what I mean? It can seem show-offy, and it kind of bit him in the ass.
Right. And there's a predilection for...
Of course, there's narcissism and ego feeding there.
Well, that's not what I meant to say is that, there is... We do as a culture have a bias to focus on that. Like, imagine if Elon Musk was black and the racist stereotypes we would foist upon him about being a braggadocious black moneyed man,
yes,
so he could be a victim, he could be seen as a victim of that as well, it's just
it's worth asking.
Does that make sense?
He's braggadocious, right? He's not. He's not talking. It sounds like he's braggadocious just because he's not white,
right?
Yeah. I hadn't thought of that, but
well, that's because you're racist.
Yeah, I really like his story. I didn't get to watch the whole 3.5-hour doc, but I read a lot of articles, everything from Black History magazines to the Smithsonian to encyclopedias and Wikipedia, and some magazines just wrote chapters just about the Guatemala thing.
Pedialyte?
What?
Wikipedia.
Oh yeah.
Wikipedia.
Expedia. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was one article that was just taken with how he kind of got away with the whole Guatemala thing, and I think
so. The CIA, so
I think a lot of stuff was maybe also because he was heir royalty. They didn't really want to fuck with him, and the guy had volunteered to go and fight against the Russians and the Italians and the Germans. So
he's fighting the good fight there,
Yeah.
No,
everybody gets some scraps from the table.
Yeah,
it's really amazing. Just he found his path, and then he found the paths along the path. And what an incredible life. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy too to think like when you're doing this stuff like to the air and you're going like, okay, well the air is like the new thing and it's going to become this main thing, but then you see its main use, of course, is always in war, and then the war ends and you go like, well, ours did, and you go like, well, maybe war doesn't stop either,
Right.
You know?
It doesn't.
Uh-huh.
But it is, war is always. We have a really good knack of using war to carve out new markets.
Yeah.
So when the war is over, it's like, well, what do we do with all this stuff? And it's like, well, we sell stuff with it.
Well, that was the thing too, right? So there was a thing of when he first started the business, it was just transport, and then he just saw what tickets things in countries that had military campaigns going for were getting, because he's like, you just basically double the price of anything, because they're thirsty to win. So he was just like, I'm not turning that down.
Yeah.
And he was such a niche thing about finding things, like I said, with those cannon shells.
Yeah.
Once they had told him to fuck off the Guatemalan government because of the Rolls Royce, and hearing about that stuff, he was like, okay. And then they just just had to call him back because there was nobody else could deliver.
Also, kind of a weird thing to be like, the guys who's selling us these cannons, he drives a really rich car.
Yeah.
Like, does that surprise you?
But it's also one of those things, speaking from experience.
With your arms dealing. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that out loud.
It's like you kind of you don't want to buy shit from the guy who doesn't have nice shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I don't subscribe to that ethos, but there is a large section of various markets where they're like, oh, well, he's good at what he does because he drives a Mercedes and has a Louis Vuitton bag, or whatever the thing is as the symbol of success.
Sure,
it's like, well, he must be good.
Yeah. But
if a guy rolls up in a car that's falling apart and his shoes got his big toe falling out of it.
Yeah.
The first thing is not he's frugal and good with money. It's he's broke and bad at his job.
Yeah, but there was some aspects of that because the Rolls Royce is there, and that announces things.
The paint job sucks.
But for the I think for one of those deals, he had like mortgaged his house,
right?
And so it was a thing where like
it's all or nothing on this.
It's all or nothing on this, and at a point where it had become, I would say, too high stakes.
Yeah. For losers like us.
Well, it's just like, bro, just fucking, I don't know, pick another country.
Right.
Yeah.
He probably also flew planes with Rolls Royce engines and was like, I'm a brand.
There you go, yeah.
I'm a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, fascinating character. I did try to get those Merv Griffin and Johnny Carson interviews. I could not find them anywhere.
Fuck.
I am sure,
it says here that you
if anybody could find them, I see.
Jumped out of a ready for this?
Pilot,
he jumped out of a plane with his cock flying in the wind.
Now, can we see that cock?
Yeah, we have a clip.
Hey-oh.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I love that. He's one of those guys that's gonna meet Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking
asking for tips on knocking out the other guy.
Yeah.
In the tips.
Yeah. All right, folks. Let's call it there. We're gonna do the Patreon now, I think, and we will get into Father Divine, another mysterious character who would commission flights from our friend Hubert Fauntleroy Julian.
I wonder what could be on them.
I'm gonna say goodnight. My name is John Fahey.
I'm Aaron Pita.
Matt Brazil.
Good night, everybody. We love you. Good night. Hello, folks. Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity. It's a show about weirdos, doggone it. My name is Johnboy. I'm your host, John Francis Fahey. Joining me, as ever, best-looking guy I know, Aaron Joseph Pita.
Thank you.
How are you, buddy?
Feeling pretty good. How about you?
I fucking feel great.
Great?
Great.
You smell great.
Thanks, man.
Now, to my 12 o'clock, pretty much right now,
Kind of.
star of old school cinema, Squirt Man Blaster.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Burt Lancaster?
I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like it.
Nice.
Had to really dig deep for that.
I'm behind it. I like that a lot. Squirt Man Blaster.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow.
Golden age of cinema.
Yeah, it sounds like
Get someone who can do both. Yeah.
I'm Squirt Man Blaster. Pleased to meet you. Stand back.
There's no telling how far this thing's gonna go. You know that?
Yeah. I'm like a cicada. You got to check us out on the Patreon to hear about that. We talked about cicadas. We got to talk about Circada.
Yeah.
Superhero, Southern superhero.
Just as an addendum to the Patreon cicada-thon,
We found out that they piss really hard, really far, really fast.
and they suffer from a fungal sexually transmitted disease.
Yeah.
turns them into zombies.
Turns them into
Nut zombies.
but also makes them
nut
gay.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I didn't see that. That's great.
Yeah, it's science. Look, it's right,
Science.
It's right here on the internet.
That's good.
Yeah, makes them gay. Here, 1 second, just really quick.
Suck up.
A sexually transmitted fungus is making trillions of cicadas hypersexual and gay.
Wow. Is this some Alex Jones shit you got?
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
It's probably just the water.
Yeah, and the frogs.
Yeah.
Frogs are fucking them.
Good
Eating
frog.
them, turning gay.
Those cicadas better wrap it up.
Yeah, check us out over on the Patreon. Now, for instance, I'm going to tell a story today. This is what we're funding with the Patreon, folks. We're trying to build this studio out a little bit bigger so we can have a guest.
Mhm.
You know, and we have a little room to have a guest, to house a guest.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
In a classy way.
A Sibian
Yes.
section.
yes.
So it's $5 a month. It's an extra show per week, and we have a gang of fun over there. We talk about all types of ill shit.
A real potpourri.
Yes.
Yes.
And there's almost 400 subscribers right now, which is hugely
Lovely.
exciting and just the best.
Humbling.
Humbling.
But also at the same time, ego boosting.
Yes.
A little bit of both.
Humbling. Yeah. It
Little
jazzes me up, but it also dresses me down.
That's right.
But for instance, it would be nice to have the room here to have a Black American to talk about today's subject, because we are three white boys talking about today's subject, which is a guy I think I've said a few times I've wanted to tackle because I really know about him from references in The Wire, and of course at the beginning of Frank Lucas's movie biopic American Gangster. It shows that he is the driver for Bumpy Johnson, today's subject.
Okay.
And the thing about gangsterdom in that time is, like, it shows you how high stakes things got, and it shows you how much, in that era of the 60s onward, let's say, body count flies up, and everybody's cheating, everybody's snitching on everybody, and
Drugs are getting harder.
Drugs are getting harder. Life is getting sadder. And the cops are playing dirtier. They're bringing the RICO stuff. They're kind of cheating.
Yeah.
But you can't be a gangster and say, hey, they're cheating.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of your thing, you know? But it's a sadder time, and then it raises up to this time that we're in now, where it's like cartels, and it's like there's just no humor in it.
None.
No, they don't seem like a very funny group.
No, there's not a lot of like wise guys like, eh.
No,
You couldn't do a Goodfellas about the cartel.
No.
Even as serious as that movie is, it's peppered in with lots of humor.
Yeah.
No cartel Goodfellas.
At this era we're going to be talking about here, what I love about it so much is, and you guys know this from a bunch of the profiles I've done, but it's this thing where, like, it's far, killing somebody is such a political decision. You know what I mean? Like, it's thought over.
Yes.
It's not like somebody looked at me wrong and we just killed him, and it's an era where these men live and die gangsters. You know what I mean? A bunch of them don't die in prison or even get shot to death.
Just die of old age.
They got old and died. So it's kind of it's a cool time to me, and it's always interesting to find out about the black side of organized crime, because it is so underreported.
Yes, and under-dramatized in movies.
Yeah, and it's catching up now. Like, so for instance, there is Hoodlum is a 97 movie.
Yeah, I've seen it. Lawrence Fishburne.
Running
numbers.
The Godfather of Harlem. That's a series that's still on. American Gangster, of course. We said Frank Lucas, but Bumpy's in the beginning. And there's that a reference in The Wire, in the 1999 comedy life, they're working on behalf of Spanky Johnson, played by Rick James.
That's right.
Yeah, so I want to start here at the beginning. Ellsworth Raymond Bumpy Johnson came into this world on Halloween 1905. In Charleston, South Carolina, his mother was Margaret Moultrie. That's why I was getting caught up on the name already. A domestic worker, which is a maid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And his father was William Johnson, a fisherman. They were a highly religious family with 7 children. Margaret, Priscilla, Pauline, Willie, Mabel, Genevieve, Elise, and Ellsworth, the youngest. They're all sharing a small 3-bedroom home. They lived in the darker section of the colored side of town.
Is that right?
So there would be a light-skinned section and then a dark, like...
If you can pass, it makes it, it's really helps.
That is wild.
Yep. That's how important race is to America and other places. And
We love to self-segregate.
yeah.
Even when it's forced upon you,
Yeah.
we'll still find ways.
And so there was claims that he made later in life about his family that were seen, at least even by his wife, to not be true. He would claim his father had been the director of a Negro Federation bank that had since gone defunct. But his mother did work for wealthy families part of the year in New York. She would go up there, and when her 3 oldest daughters were teenagers, they joined her and also became, maids. And but they stayed year round. And Priscilla got engaged to a well-to-do medical student from Brooklyn, but she died after drinking tainted water.
Oh, my God.
Her body was shipped back to Charleston for burial. Bumpy recalled on the morning of the burial, everybody was drinking coffee, all the adults, and he asked his mother for a cup, but she told him he was too young, and because he was 3. Just
I need a cup of coffee, Ma.
Yeah.
Can you boil the water first? Yes.
And
So this is 1908.
right.
Yeah, this is before they were doing like mass chlorination of water.
Right. And that happened in New York.
Yeah.
So
Frogs were straight.
Back in the good old days,
yeah.
frogs were straight.
yeah, cicadas too.
Cicadas were chased.
But his sister Margaret said, "Oh, let him have some," and she made him a cup fixed with like a ton of sugar and milk, and she became his favorite sibling. He went to school in a segregated 2-room schoolhouse. He claimed to skip ahead 2 grades. And later on, he also claimed he said he went to the Avery Institute, also not believed to be true. He lied about having taken classes in New York City as well. The nickname Bumpy came because of a bump on the back of his head. That's it.
Okay.
In 1915, his 19-year-old brother Willie was accused of killing a white man and had to be hustled out of town. His parents had to mortgage their house to pay off the cops.
Oh, Christ.
And pay for his travel. And so the whole family had to chip in, to not lose the house. Willie, his older brother, his only older brother, joined the Merchant Marines, and he never sent any money home, which Bumpy never forgave him for.
I wouldn't either.
As a wee boy, he had a short temper. He hated the racism heaped on blacks and talked about it openly. Some of the white girls in Charleston were noticing Bumpy, which made his parents very nervous. If a white man were ever to confront him, he couldn't hold his tongue. In 1919, he's 14 now. He's sent to live with his sister Mabel in Harlem. She was married with 2 kids. He had a plan to find his favorite sister, Margaret,
Who made him the coffee?
And she had a job, an apartment, and took Pratt Institute night classes. But Mabel would not share Margaret's address. He was small for his age, and he had a thick Southern accent. And bullies just took to him.
Right.
On his first day of high school, he was walking with a roll of pennies for lunch money. And 2 blocks from the school, he noticed a group of teens shooting dice. One of the guys named 6 and 8.
What's the guy's name?
6 and 8. He ran out of money, and another one said, "Hey, I bet old country boy over there got some cash." 6 and 8 asked Bumpy what he has in his pocket. Bumpy says he has his hands in his pocket. Words were exchanged, and the other guys started betting on who was going to win the fight, 6 and 8 or the country boy. Bumpy dodged 6 and 8's fists and rained down punches on his head. 6 and 8 grabbed Bumpy's trousers and wouldn't let them go until Bumpy's fist connected to the side of his head, and pennies went flying. He ended the fight by kicking 6 in the balls.
Oh my God.
The guys stopped Bumpy before he could kick him in the head. They were impressed by his toughness and happy he'd won the money from the bets.
Sure.
But he should cool it. And if he hadn't won the money, they'd have jumped him. Bumpy shouted back, and I would have kicked all of your asses, and I still will.
And he had a loaded fist because he had the roll of pennies.
Yeah,
in it.
and they kind of liked that he played dirty.
Pretty nice.
So these guys are so like, look at this fucking little, like, you know, animal. And these guys become his lifelong best friends.
Nice.
It's Nat, Junie, Finley, and he even became friends with 6 and 8 later. And years later, they talk about this first, and they'd be cracking up.
Beat your ass.
Yeah, and they just couldn't believe like the audacity of this little kid. So he also met this guy named Georgie Rose, Richie Williams, Steve Mitchell, and Obadiah, and that became the crew. He was 5'8", trim frame. He had dark hair, and his hair was always cut neat. He had almond-shaped eyes, and it could bear like a hole in your soul if he looked at you, but he also had a very warm smile. Every morning he hit the streets, evading the truancy officers, shooting dice, hustling pool games, selling newspapers. He was saving up money to send back home. He was also thieving and extorting. Bumpy and the guys offered the owners of new businesses protection at a price. When he was 16, Bumpy became an associate of William Bub Hewlett, the preeminent gangster in Harlem at the time. He was one of the few people who didn't back down when Bub raised his voice, and that's how he kind of became a lieutenant.
A lot of respect going around here.
Yeah. And so now they start pulling like him and his crew like small robbery jobs downtown. One day he finds an envelope that listed his sister Margaret's address in Brooklyn, and he got to the door. He's greeted coldly by a short, dark-skinned woman. She told him there was no one there, named Margaret Johnson. She asked what he wanted, and he said he wanted to connect with his sister. She asked if he was going to school, and he lied, and he said he was. She told him to have a good day and close the door, and he was just confused.
He just found an envelope with her address on it?
Yes.
Like while he was hustling?
No, I would say probably at home, maybe.
Okay.
Because, you know, Mabel's the sister that wouldn't give him the address.
Got it.
When he got home, Mabel confronted him about a letter she had from the Board of Education revealing that he had never attended school. And then she stopped yelling, and he showed her the envelope, and she was like, yeah, that is Margaret, if that's who you talk to. And she wanted to yell at Margaret, and Bumpy was like, no, she doesn't want anything to do with me. Just forget it. But he was devastated by this. She encouraged him to start going to school, but then he showed her $200 in his savings and changed her mind.
Oh, there you go.
You skipped all the grades.
Yeah.
He said he earned it sweeping.
Uh-huh.
Sweeping money into an envelope.
Yeah, beating people over the head with a broom. And he gave half to her, and he had her send the other half home to his parents.
Good boy.
Harlem was the largest community of black people in New York, and it was a late-night playground for wealthy white people. The nightclubs were all owned by gangsters, like the Cotton Club, which gangster Oni Madden opened in 1923. This is also the height of the Harlem Renaissance, when the art scene was bubbling over with the talents of Langston Hughes, Paul Robeson, and Zora Neale Hurston. Black gangsters like Bub, Bumpy, and his crew were called the Harlem Bad Men, which is a fucking cold-ass name.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would get a lot of, young white people who would, tourist night vacation down into
For sure.
Harlem.
Yes,
stuff
right.
to
But have a
kinda-
great time. And,
Oh, of course have a great time, but they couldn't be seen by, polite society in these areas and stuff like that.
yeah,
It's very convenient for them that they also then get to leave and go back
Yes,
to their
right.
right.
neighborhood.
And, probably a lot more jazz cigarettes floating around, you know what I mean? Very nice. Bumpy's crew was also offering protection services to the club and speakeasy owners. And it was Bub that suggested that he start offering protection to the bankers for the numbers rackets.
Smart.
So the numbers rackets, you know how that works?
It's basically a guerrilla lottery.
Yeah. And so what they do is it's a 3-digit number, and you pick one, and you give it to the guy, and you give him your money. And if your number comes in, everybody knows it, because what it is it's the total of bets from the previous day's racing.
It's in the newspaper.
It's in every newspaper.
Oh, okay.
And it's completely just by chance. So there's no bullshit with it. The bankers made more than nightclub owners, at thousands per week, untaxed. And they would set up shop at some private local establishment like a social club, veterans hall, speakeasy, or a barber shop and take bets from gamblers. The runners would take the money and the betting slips to the bookies back to the headquarters known as the Numbers Bank. Bankers only wanted to hire the toughest, most intimidating bodyguards to protect their businesses. And he was not a big man, but before long, Bumpy had earned a reputation as one of Harlem's most sought-after bodyguards. One night, February 1924, Bumpy and Nat, his buddy that jumped him, were escorting a Cuban numbers banker named Alex Pompez.
Mm-hmm.
Out of nowhere, a guy steps out of an alley brandishing a pistol, like Gotham style, you know what I mean? And demanding Pompez's wallet. In just a fluid motion, Bumpy just pulls out a switchblade, clicks it, cuts him straight across the face. And
that's how you got Scarface.
Yes, bro.
He drops his weapon. Ah, my fucking face! Bumpy pushes Pompez into a car, and then he slashes the guy's face again, and then cuts him across the abdomen.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Fucking cop comes over, and Bumpy's already dumped the knife in the gutter, and he tells the cop, he's like, Pompez isn't speaking English. I got him. And
you're looking for Knifey Johnson.
And he tries to go up to Pompez again, the cop, and Bumpy gets in his way, and then this time the cop is like, get the fuck, and he pushes Pompez and Nat into the car, and they take off, and Bumpy starts fighting with this cop after he punches him in the face.
Oh, my God.
And then he starts wrestling with him, stopping him from pulling his weapon out.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It would take 3 officers to subdue him. 19-year-old Bumpy was charged with attempted murder, assaulting an officer, and resisting arrest. Thanks to a lawyer provided by Pompez, the charges were reduced to disorderly conduct.
Oh, my God.
And he got 1 year probation.
He was just being all weird out there.
Later in life, Pompez became the international scouting director for the New York San Francisco Giants baseball team.
That checks out.
He made it into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2006.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks to Bumpy.
Cuba!
The slashing incident made the papers, which mortified Mabel, but she still took his money. A banker named Madame Stephanie St. Clair heard about Bumpy. Madame Stephanie St. Clair, the most fuckable name I've ever heard in my life. Oof, my God. Madame Stephanie St. Clair?
I think I saw a couple movies of hers in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she heard about Bumpy and wanted him on her payroll. She had him watching one of her many spots around Harlem. When she saw him reading a book about black U.S. military units, she was impressed by his intelligence and decided to make him a personal bodyguard. He escorted her to plays, concerts, nightclubs, and discussed the classics. But in 1925, Bumpy got busted on a burglary charge, and a judge sentenced him to 10 years in Elmira prison, a.k.a. The Hill, in central New York. After 2 years, he was released on parole. In 27, he was 22 years old and sentenced to another 2 years in Elmira on an assault charge. Served his time, got back to business in Harlem. He was a free man for just about 5 months before picking up a grand larceny charge in 29. The judge sentenced Bumpy to 2.5 years in Sing Sing.
Ooh.
Sing Sing was home to some very high-profile inmates like the Rosenbergs, the Communist Spies, and while at Sing Sing, Bumpy got to know an Italian guy doing time on an assault charge named Harold Giuliani, the father of future New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Good guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in the Italian-American Hall of Fame.
When Bumpy got out of prison in 1931, he was 26 years old and setting the stage for a legendary career in Harlem. Madame Stephanie St. Clair had been running her banking operation for a decade. She came to Harlem from a small Caribbean island in 1912. She'd maintained that her roots were in France. She spoke flawless European French. Her enemies called her the Tiger from Marseille, but this time a family might be bringing in $10 to $15 a week. If they wagered $1 in the numbers and their 3 digits hit, they could get up to $600.
I think we might have talked about this on another episode before.
Yeah.
What a kind of a not a good bet, but
Right.
Yeah.
a reasonable play.
There's a
numbers was for a lot of
For sure.
There's a reason the state took it over.
So a penny could get you $6, and you're making that's what a week's pay.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The Harlem Numbers racket generated $50 million in 1931 alone.
Jesus Christ.
That's
In that money, that year's money?
Yeah, but they also had to pay off the magistrates, the police, judges.
Constables.
yeah, yes.
Magistrates.
the
Get the
madams.
fuck out of here with a magistrate. Who even knows what that is? Comptroller. Outta here.
They called this ice, and it could cost tens of thousands of dollars every year. The most successful Harlem bankers had as many as 100 runners and pulled in around $1 million a year. Madame Stephanie only took in about $100,000, but she was the largest female banker in Harlem. She owned brownstone buildings, luxury cars, and a wardrobe of fine silk gowns and turbans.
Ooh.
Many men had threatened her in the past, but this new figure, this Jewish gangster from the Bronx, who went by the nickname Dutch Schultz,
Oh, you ever heard of him?
Arthur Simon Flegenheimer,
Dutch Schultz is better.
yeah, he was something else. Dutch wanted Harlem's numbers racket totally under his control. And she said, "The goddamn Dutchman can kiss my ass. He thinks I'm some stupid black guy. I show him he thinks wrong." Back in September 1928, numbers banker Casper Holstein, one of only 6 black millionaires in Harlem, was chauffeured in his limousine to the home of a married woman on 145th Street and 7th Avenue. When he stepped out of the limo, Holstein was grabbed by 4 white men who dragged him into a car, claiming to be cops. They beat him with blackjacks and bound and gagged him. His chauffeur reported the kidnapping to the police. The kidnappers demanded a $50K ransom, which they received the following day. They released Holstein shortly after midnight. One of the kidnappers was Schultz's man, Vincent Mad Dog Cole. This operation proved to Schultz that if Harlem's numbers game was no penny racket, if they could slap down $50K on a Sunday when the financial institutions were closed, there was plenty more cash where that came from. Dutch's men started paying visits to the Harlem bankers, letting them know that their boss wanted to join their operation. He could protect their operators from both the cops and from gangland kidnappings that were springing up.
Oh.
The numbers bankers rejected the offers. They already had their own protection, but doubled up on bodyguards. Even though the Harlem bankers were still paying for police protection, Dutch manipulated officers into arresting some of the bankers' men. Madam Stephanie starts writing to the Harlem newspapers and police commissioner, and even to the mayor, to complain about those arrests. She ended up getting arrested for racketeering in December 29 and got a year's sentence.
No good deed.
But after a month in prison, she agreed to testify in a city judge's investigation. She gave up the names of police officers and magistrates who were on the take, but still made arrests and levied jail sentences against folks in the numbers racket. Some bankers fled New York, but others had their operations slowly absorbed by Dutch Schultz and his gang. By late 31, Dutch was the dominant player in Harlem's number game, and he continued expanding his operation, which he called his combination. Bub Hewlett, now working for Schultz, visited Madam and encouraged her in so many words to join the combination. But Madam was well aware of how the big-time bankers that once netted tens of thousands of dollars in revenue were now restricted to $100 to $200 weekly salaries. Enraged, Madam hissed at Hewlett that she would never surrender to her bank to the goddamn Dutchman. She thinks he's Dutch. Maybe he is.
Well, as you know, that's the French for you.
It was ludicrous that he, a black man, would approach her with such an outrageous offer on behalf of a white man. Dutch could kiss her ass, and Bub could help him do it. Bub left with a snarl and a sarcastic remark about the next callers perhaps not acting as gentlemanly as he had. Then it seemed like all of Madam's pickup spots were the targets of drive-by shootings. Her men were threatened and beaten to a pulp. Officers she regularly paid ice to were now arresting her employees. Once a banker's business was interrupted by arrests, the payouts from the day couldn't be completed, and customers would start placing their bets elsewhere.
Yeah.
Despite these setbacks, a lot of Madam's people stayed loyal to her. She always paid regularly and motivated them with the challenge that they were standing up to the Dutchman. People thought Madam was crazy. She had sought help from the newspapers, the police, and the courts in her fight against Schultz. How could one?
That is pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How could one woman alone possibly stand up to all these powerful men? But Madam had a secret weapon. Her main enforcer was getting out of jail on October 31.
Just you wait, I got the real motherfucker coming.
This guy has no kind of dignity. He was getting out of jail October 31 after 2.5 years in Sing Sing.
His birthday.
He was just as mad about a white man taking thousands of dollars a week out of Harlem as she was.
And he's been stewing.
She had placed her bet that Bumpy Johnson was going to be a very big problem for the Dutchman. When Bumpy got out of Sing Sing, Bub approached him with an offer to join Dutch's combination at $200 a week salary. He said he'd think it over.
He produced a roll of quarters from his asshole.
I've been all waiting.
When Bumpy meets with the Madam, she says she wants Bumpy to kill Dutch or she's going to kill him herself. Bumpy tells her attempting a hit on Dutch would bring all-out war, and is she ready for that? She'd have to hire at least 10 good bodyguards at $200 a week. She'd also have to buy weapons, pay off more cops, and put up bail money. It could take not just weeks or months, but years to settle. But she promised Bumpy the Harlem bankers and all their workers would chip in, buy their guns, buy their cops, and kill the Dutchman. Harlem's restaurant and nightclub owners would also contribute to the cause. Another contributor was Dickie Wells, a New York celebrity through the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Dickie was called Mr. New York and Mr. Harlem. He rose to fame as a professional dancer, but earned his most acclaim and fortune as a male gigolo.
Oh,
Nice.
pretty good. That's Mr. New York for you.
Dude,
Yeah.
what a fucking stud.
Yeah.
This guy.
They're like, don't worry, he's going to pitch in too. You know the guy with the dick?
My name's Bumpy Johnson.
Yeah.
But this guy's the dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna dance all over this.
He romanced the likes of actresses Tallulah Bankhead, Ava Gardner, and Joan Crawford,
All at the same time.
as well as the daughters of business tycoons and diplomats. He's said to have never taken a dime from a black woman, but siphoned every dollar he could from the rich white ones. He'd already been earning hundreds of dollars a week as a dancer when he gave up that lifestyle to be a gigolo. They paid him in cash, jewels, clothes, and cars. Willie bought his mother a brownstone in Harlem's ritziest neighborhood and occupied the basement apartment until his death.
Wow.
Even though he didn't have anything to do with the numbers racket, he was a close personal friend of Madame Stephanie's, and he enjoyed her
bet.
company in a platonic fashion.
Aw.
In a very platonic
Yeah.
fashion.
He donated $1,000 in 1932,
Shit.
and that went a long way. They had their financing, now they needed soldiers. Naturally, Bumpy turned to his crew, Finley, Junie, and Nat.
6 and 8.
Yes! Obadiah, Richie Williams, Haas Steele, George Rose, and Steve Mitchell.
Steve Mitchell.
Yeah, it's like the Steve Miller Band all
Yeah.
over again. Oh, great.
Uh,
Steve Mitchell, too.
We're gonna dance with the light on.
Fly. Let's see. They had their financing. Now they. Oh, say the soldiers. I said that. Sorry. Finley was in charge of getting the guns. Junie was the brains, great at thinking up a plan on the spot. Nat and Steve were stone cold killers, completely without fear, willing to take a man out with fists, a knife, or a gun. Georgie Rose was a con man and ladies' man who picked up a lot of insider knowledge from betting the girlfriends of Dutch Schultz's men.
nice. Smart.
Everybody's
I'm
fucking.
something of an amateur gigolo
I'm
myself.
kind of an inside guy.
Soon there were drive-by shootings at Madame Stephanie's spots and the other Harlem bankers who'd refused Dutch, but in retaliation, Dutch's spots in Harlem were getting shot up too. The two sides were locked in a guerrilla war, but Bumpy's men had the advantage of being able to blend in easily in Harlem. Dutch's white soldiers from the Bronx stood out like sore
Yeah, no
thumbs.
shit.
And in the daytime, especially, easy pickings for a shooting. But Bub Hewlett and his men, all black, were also working for Dutch and gunning for Bumpy. It could have been a showdown for the ages, but in December 32, 46-year-old Bub Hewlett got arrested in connection to a switchblade attack he'd committed for one of his other employers. He got 2.5 years prison, taking him out of play. Schultz hired another black enforcer in 1934, Ulysses Rollins from Chicago.
Great name.
A lot of good names in this
Yeah.
one.
Dutch rarely set foot in Harlem and was always flanked by at least 3 bodyguards. Bumpy was frustrated that he could never catch a clear shot at Dutch, but in 34, Bumpy reached out to Lucky Luciano. Luciano, of course, famous
Mhm.
New York gangster with one of the 5 families. I believe he was Genevieve's family. Luciano said he couldn't get involved, but hypothetically, if we were to get involved,
Just say.
he would want to take over the Harlem numbers racket for himself and keep Bumpy on the payroll for $1,000 a week. Bumpy expressed his disappointment, but made it clear that hypothetically, if Luciano got involved and moved against the Harlem bankers, he would have to take out Luciano himself. So he's like, yeah, if you do that,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to do that. Hypothetically.
If we're talking in hypotheticals,
Let's just-
Just say, let's play this out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say man on the moon scenario.
yeah. He's saying, get me off the moon.
And Luciano laughs. And
I like this kid.
Yeah, that's, everybody seems to have that
and
feeling.
he told him such an action would result in war with the Italians, which Bumpy certainly wouldn't survive. But Bumpy reminded Luciano that Dutch said he wouldn't survive a war with him, and here he was still standing 3 years later.
What do you think about that?
And even though Luciano was impressed by the balls on Bumpy, they shook hands and parted ways, and he would stay out of the Harlem War for now. Bumpy and Ulysses finally had a face-to-face confrontation in the summer of 35.
Bumpy and
Ulysses is the new
Oh, yeah,
enforcer for
Ulysses,
Dutch.
got it.
Yeah. Bumpy was out at the Alhambra Bar and Theater on a date with one of his lovers, Helen Lawrenson, who was
sounds white.
it was the editor of Vanity Fair, a white woman.
Oh my
Cool.
Lord. God in heaven.
Yeah. He spotted Rollins and without hesitation drew out his knife and jumped on the man. The two struggled on the floor for a while before Bumpy stood up and straightened his tie. Rollins' face and abdomen were badly slashed and one of his eyes was hanging out of the socket,
Oh!
dangling by the ligaments.
Oh!
Oh.
Bumpy calmly stepped over Ulysses Rollins, picked up a menu, and said he suddenly had a taste for spaghetti and meatball.
Oh, God, that's fucking gross.
I mean, traditionally, those are brains. I mean, usually
Yeah.
the grapes, the Halloween.
Pretty baller move.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Helen Lawrence is over here like, ah!
Throwing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, barfing.
And ordering martinis.
Yeah. Against all expectations, Rollins survived his injuries and got out of the hospital that very same night.
No.
He went looking for Bumpy and found him at a restaurant on 125th Street.
He's still eating.
With one eye?
With a big plate of spaghetti and meatballs.
I don't know, boss. I just love eating spaghetti and meatballs.
Rollins took out a gun and fired a shot that went through Bumpy's hat, hitting an innocent bystander and killing her on the spot.
Jesus.
Oh, my God. That's the same thing that happened in the fucking Iceberg Slim one.
Yeah.
Like, the guy fucking took a gun out, shot him in a bar, and it went through his hat.
I mean, really making a case for
You
like,
gotta wear hats.
yeah, but like not baseball hats.
No, tall ones.
Tall
It didn't work for Lincoln.
No. Well, he wasn't
But-
wearing a hat in the theme.
He's
And
the exception that proves the rule.
you always imagine that it shoots straight up when that bullet goes through it. Whoop! Yeah. An off-duty officer was at the restaurant and apprehended Rollins, who was found guilty of the killing and sent to prison. Bumpy never wore a hat again. I don't know why.
Seems like a lucky hat.
Yeah, I guess, you can't count on it twice. Can't
Yeah,
count on a
yeah.
miracle twice.
Yeah. Never wore a hat again. There's one thing I know.
He's blaming the hat for the shooting. It's like, no, you pulled a guy's eye out. Fucking idiot.
That said, fuck Ulysses or something.
In October of 35, Madame Stephanie and Bumpy's prayers were answered. Lucky Luciano set up a hit on Dutch Schultz. Dutch and 3 of his bodyguards were gunned down in a restaurant in Newark. The hit wasn't a favor to Bumpy or anybody in Harlem. Dutch had gotten on Luciano's bad side after he had made it known that he was going to put a hit on Special Prosecutor Thomas E. Dewey, who's later the mayor or the governor.
I think he was a governor. He would lose to Truman.
Yeah, he ran for president.
Yes. The entire Italian mob was against the hit. It would bring down way too much heat on everybody, and Dutch wouldn't listen to reason, so Luciano had to take him out of play. A week after his death, Luciano arranged a meeting with Bumpy. Bumpy told him plainly that if he wanted to take over the bankruptcy who'd gone to Dutch and offered him no support, he wouldn't lose sleep over a bunch of cowards. So that's, the guys like that were with, he's saying, if you want to keep those, fine. I'm just going to keep what I have,
Okay.
He wasn't going to lose sleep over a bunch of cowards. Lucci agreed not to move on bankers who'd sided with Bumpy, but any new banks that opened up would be under Italian control. What's more, Bumpy wanted to be the Italian mafia's man in Harlem. Luciano's Harlem partner.
He said that.
Yes.
Smart.
The mob would not attempt to make any moves in Harlem without letting Bumpy know first, and allow him to get a taste of the action if he wanted. So that means, like, if there's going to be a hit and money involved,
We'll
it's
let you
going
know.
it's going to Bumpy.
What's so funny is that Harlem is a Dutch word,
Yeah.
and they fucked that guy up.
Maybe he thought he could take it over because he changed his name.
Fuck him.
They haggled for hours over the points, but Bumpy was guaranteed, and they ultimately shook on the deal. Bumpy had Luciano's word, and by extension, the word of all the families. Bumpy had negotiated for peace with honor, putting an end to the war without losing any additional lives. All in all, more than 40 people had been killed in connection with the Bumpy-Dutch war in Harlem, and several were kidnapped. Which seems so low now.
Yeah, it seems.
You're like, oh,
yeah.
it went on for years, and only a couple people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but
More kids died at a school last week, probably
Yeah.
somewhere.
But every time, back then, every time it happened, it was
Tons of heat.
yeah.
Tons of heat, yes.
Yeah. It's important to keep the body counts low and organized.
But what's-
Yes.
but what's
but very precise.
Yeah. But so, it's this thing where now, like, also so much money is still coming in, right? That
Don't
you go
wanna
like,
fuck it up.
why do I need to really push it? And now, he doesn't have to spend all that money on this war.
Right.
You're not worried about your places getting shot up. They can continue giving you numbers during the day. So he's reached peace. But more importantly than that, he has shown Harlem, a black man can stand up to white organized crime and not back down and that's that.
Yeah, and have a seat at the table.
Yeah. It was a monumental change in the order of things, and he was a legend from there on out. Him and his crew were made men in Harlem. He never drank alcohol, but he never paid for his ginger ales. Everywhere he went, people wanted to be around him, even politicians, members of law enforcement, celebrities from entertainment and sports. He was also irresistible to women who were drawn to his power as much as his personality. The fame was intoxicating, but what Bumpy loved more was the power. When the Italians tried to muscle in on a bank that was supposed to be off limits, the banker reached out to Bumpy, who ordered an immediate work slowdown. Half of the runners in Harlem who worked for the Italians called in sick the next day.
No shit.
The ones who showed up to work only pulled in 1/10 of their usual take.
Sorry, boss.
After 2 days of this, Bumpy was called in for a meeting with Luciano at his Waldorf Astoria suite. Luciano said this banker owed the mob money, and they were hoping to make good on his debt by taking over his bank. After a half hour of negotiations, Luciano agreed that he would lay off the banker, but Bumpy would ensure that he paid back the loan at an even steeper interest rate. On his way out of the meeting, Bumpy noticed a chess set. The men were mutually impressed that the other could play and sat down for a few games.
No shit.
And from then on, every time they met, they would meet for a weekly chess match.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like Professor X and Magneto.
Yeah.
I do love that a lot.
Yeah, and
Do you think Bumpy was always black?
yeah, I hope so.
I bet it sounds like something you could joke about every time you set up.
Yeah.
Why does the white piece get to go first?
And Bumpy's favorite park that was in front of the YMCA on 135th Street, and Lucky Luciano even came there to play him sometimes.
It's fun to stay at the YMCA.
Yeah. A couple of guys fooling around at the YMCA. It's a big deal.
Got a Native American guy.
Construction
got a-
worker.
yeah,
Moving
got a
pieces
cop.
around.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a leather guy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey.
Oh, shit, here comes the bishop.
Always moving diagonally.
Oh, my God.
Here comes the bishop.
You know what that is. That's
A penis.
It's a penis.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a penis, pal.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Special Prosecutor Thomas Dewey nabbed Luciano a compulsory prostitution charge in July 1936, and he got a 30-year sentence and was
Holy
sent to Dannemora prison.
They made that movie about it.
Bumpy would never consider himself a pimp because he never went out and recruited sex workers. But if somebody wanted his protection, he would look out for them for a cut of their nightly take. He later told his wife that if a girl held out on him, he would go to her place and instead of beating her, cut up her clothes.
Well,
It's also kind of smart.
yeah.
now you gotta fuck.
Yeah, what are you gonna wear out there? You know what I mean? You can't go out there, you know.
And also probably not going to the hospital,
Yeah.
not going to the cops.
You're not wasting any good wire hangers on the beatings.
And he said she could make more money without bruises in the romance department.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dude, that is like so common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you going to take your moneymaker and maim them?
Yeah. This is a man who plays chess, you know. He's thinking.
He's thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Smart guy. Good guys.
Maybe.
Bumpy had several things going on with women, both black and white.
Hey. Cool.
Bumpy's
God, it's really quick, man.
It's really nice. Bumpy's sisters in Harlem were also trying to soak up his limelight. They could drop his name at any restaurant or nightclub and never see the check. For all the favors that...
Even the one that wanted nothing to do with him?
I haven't heard that.
I hope not.
For all the favors that being Bumpy's sisters afforded them, sometimes Bumpy needed help in return. One day in 35, he showed up at his sister Genevieve's house with a baby girl, saying that she was his daughter, and Ginny needed to take care of her.
Oh, my God.
She looked at the child stunned and said, "Your daughter? Bumpy, this is a white baby." And he said, "How are you going to say it's a white baby when I just told you I'm the father?" Ginny asked about the mother, and he told her not to worry about it. The mother couldn't take care of her, and her name and told her name was Elise. He's got a sister named Elise, of course. He said the baby was an angel and hardly cried at all. He couldn't send her to his sister Elise in Charleston. He wanted the child close by. When Bumpy offered Ginny a $25 a week salary to cover all the baby's expenses, she gladly took Elise in. Bumpy would never tell anyone who Elise's mother was. Even when she grew up, he wouldn't tell her. Eventually, she got a copy of her birth certificate and saw that she was born in New Jersey to Helen Morgan. She asked Bumpy how she could find Helen, but he said it was a made-up name she gave to the hospital. Bumpy's family never agreed with his choice to not tell Elise who her mother was. He was keeping a promise he made to the mother to never reveal her identity.
And was he the father?
He was, in exchange for her not getting an abortion like she originally wanted.
Wow.
So he just never, that was the agreement, and he stuck to it.
Oh.
Madam Stephanie was more than a little hurt when Bumpy decided to open his own bank instead of returning to work for her, but it was obvious he'd make more money striking out on his own. Madam Stephanie ended up marrying a flamboyant community organizer named Sufi Abdul Hamid in 1936.
Ooh.
The next year, she found out he was having an affair and shot him twice with a .38, but he survived. Still, she served 10 years in prison for attempted murder.
Oh my God.
After her release, she moved to a mansion in Long Island and never returned to the numbers business.
Well.
Got out. That was that.
These fucking Arab sons of bitches. Right?
Long Island.
Yeah. She's got a thick Long Island accent.
Yeah.
How you doing, hon?
How you doing, hon? I'm just a normal Long Island chick.
Bridge and tunnel crowd now. In 1937, there was a pimp named New York Charlie who used the gorilla, as in the animal, tactic, where you pick out a girl and beat her up until she agrees to make you her pimp.
Jesus Christ.
That was the tactic. That was in Iceberg Slim's book too.
He pulled that move on one of the girls that Bumpy was protecting. Bumpy went looking for Charlie, and then when he found, he sliced him up pretty bad. Bumpy assumed that would be the end of things, but he was wrong. After cutting up Charlie, Bumpy went out to dinner with friends. A police officer interrupted his meal to say he was under arrest.
Excuse me.
From his hospital bed, Charlie had identified Bumpy as his attacker.
He's hatless.
Got a big old bump in his head.
Bumpy said this was a misunderstanding and offered to go down to the hospital and clear things up.
Okay.
Charlie was being prepped for surgery when they brought in Bumpy in his room, and he said, "Yeah, that's the motherfucker who cut me up."
Go sleep. Go sleep.
Bumpy jumped on the hospital gurney and started choking him. Oh my God. He wouldn't let go of Charlie's throat until the police had beaten him unconscious with their nightsticks.
Jesus Christ.
And I'll do it again.
I'm an innocent man.
What'd you say? I'll kill you.
God is my witness. Bumpy got sentenced to 10 years for felonious assault and head off to Dannemora. He was 32 years old.
Damn.
Yeah, that's a bad move.
That was more of a checkers move.
Yeah. He jumped him.
Less chess, more checkers.
Yeah.
Fucking so.
It's a big misunderstanding. Let's go to the hospital and just straighten this out.
just
You
throw it.
fucking motherfucker!
Yeah.
I guess if he dies, he can't implicate
I mean,
right?
the thing that I guess occurs to me is, does New York Charlie know what Bumpy Johnson looks like?
He was famous at this point.
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah.
And he did.
That's the only reason I could see why you would snitch on him and step to one of his women. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I would imagine
Well,
you
maybe
can't-
he didn't know that she was under his protection.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Until it was too late.
Yeah, and then he's in the hospital. He's like, well, catch that motherfucker. And then he wins that round, I guess.
Bumpy got out of prison in 1947.
What year did he go in?
Let's see.
He was sentenced to 10 years. Did he do
Yeah.
10?
I don't know if he did the 10.
Probably not.
Oh, shit.
He played a guard for his freedom with chess.
Yeah.
Checkmate, motherfucker.
This was 37. Yeah, so he did the 10.
Holy shit.
Wow.
His old friend Dickie surprised Bumpy with a welcome home party at Harris's Bar on 132nd Street and 7th with 200 guests in attendance.
10 fucking years.
A lot of the bankers noticed that Bumpy had put on a few pounds.
Yeah.
He let them know that he helped Luciano with a situation inside, which resulted in him getting an invitation to all the Italian guys' dinners.
And if you know anything from Goodfellas, they fucking get the good shit.
They had all their food shipped in and were cooking it themselves. Yeah. With every conversation at the party, the guests would be slipping Bumpy an envelope of cash to help him get back on his feet. Just one envelope from the banker Johnny Walker on Sugar Hill contained $20,000.
Holy shit.
That would be over $250,000 today. A few days later, Bumpy met up with Joey Adonis, the manager of Lucky Luciano's operations. He received an envelope with $6,000 and the keys to a 1947 Lincoln Continental.
What?
Nice.
Man, you guys don't do shit for me when I get out of jail.
Yeah.
Try it out.
Yeah, just want to know who you fucked in there.
Yeah.
Tell us. Bumpy
Did
let
you get tits like that serial killer guy?
Bumpy let Joey know that he was going to be setting up business on 135th Street, and Joey said that would have to go through some channels. In a meeting with mob associates, Bumpy made it clear that he would work under the same deal he had with Luciano. He would operate his own banks with no interference, not kicking any money up to the Italians. He told Joey A to let Luciano know what was going on in Harlem and that he was not happy about it. Bumpy then met with his own men to let him know that a war may be coming down the pipeline. He said the first order of business would be snatching up a couple of their guys, asking for $100,000 in ransom, and then turning them loose. Let it be known that they were serious. It never came to that because Joey Adonis did actually get word to Lucky Luciano all the way over in Naples, Italy.
Holy shit.
Luciano told Adonis that in no uncertain terms, the mob was to honor the deal he had struck with Bumpy and give him anything he wanted.
Wow.
Luciano told Joey Adonis that they were in the joint together. Bumpy had slugged a guy who was trying to shank Luciano in the yard, saving his life.
Holy shit.
That'll do it. Good move.
Back to chess.
Yeah. Well, years later, it turns out that Bumpy paid that guy to.
Yeah, make him look good.
When Joey Adonis gave Bumpy the keys to a new 48 Cadillac, he asked why he never told him what he had done for their friend. Bumpy said, "It wasn't for me to tell." Bumpy's relationship with the mob was good in the 30s and cordial in the 40s. Bumpy opened his numbers bank in February 48 on 135th Street. He met a young woman named Mamie Hatcher that April. Life as Bumpy's girlfriend was a whirlwind. Neither drank, but they stayed out to the wee hours of the morning at the city's best theaters, nightclubs, and gambling dens. She met celebrities like Bill Bojangles Robinson, who had multiple roles in musicals with Shirley Temple.
That's a dancer.
Contrary to his public image, Bill was a mean, drunken gambler who'd even pull out a pistol when he thought he'd been cheated.
I mean, there was a famous song of him dancing in jail.
Yeah. She also met the boxer Sugar Ray Robinson and his wife Edna May. She'd been a dancer at the Cotton Club and was the first model on the cover of Jet magazine.
Whoa.
Bumpy and Mamie Hatcher were married in a civil ceremony in October 48. The bride was 32 and the groom was 43. They'd known each other for 6 months. Mamie had her daughter Ruthie and Bumpy had his daughter Elise, finally all together under the same roof. Their daughters were both 15 years old.
Oh, nice.
Ginny warned Bumpy that Elise was already sneaking out to meet grown men running the streets, so she'd need some strict supervision.
And she's white-ish.
In December 48, Bumpy met Zachary Flash Walker through William Pop Gates, a star player for the Harlem Rennies, the best black basketball team going at that time.
Which means the best basketball team.
Yeah.
Wait till the Generals sign the right people.
He would later coach the Harlem Globetrotters.
What?
Who are the best team in the galaxy.
Wait,
Yeah.
Bumpy?
Oh, no,
this other guy
guy.
would go on
Yeah.
to coach the Harlem Globetrotters?
Yeah, William Pop Gates.
Dude, that's awesome.
Or Zachary Flash Walker, excuse me.
Flash
Yeah.
Walker.
Flash Walker.
Yeah. He was always teaching him to spin the ball.
Yeah,
And,
that's why they're so flashy.
yeah.
When Pop was 15, he tried to get a job from Bumpy in the numbers game, but when Bumpy found out that Pop was a high school basketball star, he refused to hire him. Instead, he just gave him money whenever he was in need. In 1948, Pop told Bumpy that he was managing a young boxer who had the gift of gab, but with his glass jaw,
No.
he needed to get into another line of work. He was wondering if Bumpy could provide the young boxer, Flash Walker, with a job. Flash only made $1 a week for his cleaning up a pool room, and they let him sleep on the pool table. He barely had a dime to buy food. Feeling bad for the lad, Bumpy agreed to hire Flash to help out around his house. He was 19 or 20 years old and happy to be hauling trash, scrubbing windows, running errands. After a week or so, Bumpy let Flash work as a numbers runner at one of his spots, and he was a natural. He excelled at convincing bettors to put more money on a spot than they'd originally planned. While most runners brought in $100 to $200 a day, Flash had $500 placed in bets. While he was no longer working at Bumpy's home, he was still a regular dinner guest. One day, Flash got extremely sick. It looked like he might have TB. There was no vaccine at the time, and it was running rampant in New York. When Flash found out he actually had pneumonia, he checked himself out of the hospital and went to Bumpy. He explained that he'd grown up as an orphan being shuffled between foster homes. No one had ever cared for him as much as Bumpy. He swore that he wasn't going to squander his job, but just because of some cold. With that, Bumpy moved Flash into the third bedroom in the apartment. His wife Mamie nursed him back to health, and after a few weeks, Bumpy took him out and bought him a new wardrobe. Flash ended up living...
I want to take you shopping.
Take me shopping. Flash ended up living with them for the next 6 months. He started smoking Pall Malls just like Bumpy, and he would even take his potential girlfriends to meet Bumpy to get Bumpy's approval.
What do you think, huh?
Hey, Mr. Oh, get out of here, lady.
Oh, he doesn't like him.
He went along on the little business trips Bumpy had to take when somebody got out of line. His boxing skills came into good use. He proved to be very good with his hands. Soon he was taking Flash along to his meetings with the Italians. Flash was also fiercely loyal to Bumpy, and he would lay a beating on anyone he thought was disrespecting his surrogate father. Frank Lucas, who was played by Denzel Washington in the movie American Gangster, pretty much co-opted Flash's life story as his own.
No way.
Yeah. Frank would say that he met Bumpy in 1948. He was a pool shark, just like Flash, and Bumpy had bought him clothes and let him live in his apartment. He claimed he had been Bumpy's bodyguard and enforcer who got along to meetings with the Italians. Flash and Bumpy ended up staying tight for 2 years. Flash was even able to introduce himself as Bumpy's son. Bumpy's bank was bringing in about $60,000 a month back then. 1949 was full of loss for Bumpy. His friend Dickie Wells died of
49?
49, yeah. His friend Dickie Wells died of a heart attack, and Bill Bojangles Robinson and Bub Hewlett also passed away. Bumpy wouldn't lay a finger on any of the guys in his crew, even when they pushed his buttons. During a dinner at a Red Rooster's restaurant, one of the guys, Chappie, was kidding Bumpy about something and wouldn't let up. Bumpy stood up calmly, walked into the kitchen, and came out holding a fire axe. He strode through the dining room, out to the streets, and brought the axe down on the hood of Chappie's 49 Cadillac. He just wouldn't fuck up his guys.
But their cars.
But there's stuff.
We're hitting 1950s. So let's take a quick break.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Be right back, folks. And we're back. Now it's October of 1950, and all hell breaks loose. Flash had done some stints at Rikers Island Jail. During one of those times, he got acquainted with a pimp.
Huh.
One afternoon, they ran into each other on 7th Avenue and started catching up. This pimp explains that he's got a great scheme going on. He'd been involved with a white...
You get women to have sex
Yeah.
for money.
Ah.
And then you take that money and then beat them.
Or cut their clothes.
Or cut their clothes.
He had been involved with a white socialite, the daughter of a big-time politician, and she'd been giving him cash. When her family found out, they made her end the relationship, but not before this pimp had lifted her checkbook. This pimp told Flash that the women were so loaded and careless with money they would never know the checks were missing. He just needed a way to cash these checks without going to the bank and drawing attention. Flash told his friend that all he'd have to do was make the checks out to cash, and then he'd take the money from one of Bumpy's spots that he'd managed, and Flash would deposit the checks into Bumpy's bank account.
Smart.
It didn't take long for Flash and the pimp to get greedy and start depositing $700 and $800 checks.
Not smart.
Checkers shit.
That's, yep. Tiddlywinks.
After 4 months of running this scheme, the bank called in Bumpy to discuss his account. He was face-to-face with the checkbook owner's father, who accused Bumpy of stealing from his daughter and said he'd call the police. Bumpy was able to calm the man down and remind him that going to the police would result in the story getting printed in the paper, something that would be bad for both of them. The politician relented when he received Bumpy's word that there would be no more checks cashed. Bumpy stopped home before he went out looking for Flash. He was irate. But Mamie figured that maybe he'd curse Flash out, suspend him for a few weeks, or dock his pay. But when Mamie's daughter, Ruthie, heard what was going on with Flash, she told Bumpy that earlier that day, Flash had patted her on the butt.
Oh, no.
Elise chimed in saying that Flash had also patted her on the butt.
Oh,
saying,
Flash.
Saying he couldn't wait to get her alone, and it wasn't the first time it had happened.
Oh, dude.
Their stories sounded suspicious, but both girls stuck to it. Bumpy took a cab straight over to the Teresa Hotel and confronted Flash outside. He was pummeling Flash on the sidewalk, threatening to kill him. Flash never raised a hand against Bumpy the whole time. Bumpy concluded Flash's beating with a final kick to the head, saying, "Stay away from me and my family, or else I'm going to fucking kill you next time."
Well,
some months later, after the whole Flash affair, Elise got pregnant, and Bumpy forced her into a shotgun wedding, probably to the wrong man.
Oh.
She gave birth to a baby girl named Margaret. This was also the era when the Italians were bringing heroin into New York and making a fortune off of black people in Harlem. Bumpy is said to have never sold heroin directly, but he sure profited off of it. All of the dealers had to pay Bumpy a percentage of their profits to operate in Harlem, and he loaned them money out at a 25% interest.
never sold it directly.
Yeah.
Just allowed it to be sold.
Flash was still trying to reconcile with Bumpy. He had tried calling the house nonstop and getting Bumpy's friends to intercede on his behalf. They'd remind Bumpy how much Flash knew about his business and that it would be better to make up with him than have him as an enemy. Bumpy refused. One day, a former girlfriend of Flash's named Lovey stopped by Bumpy's apartment for a visit, saying she had a message from Flash. She talked to Bumpy's wife, but asked when Bumpy would be home. When Bumpy arrived, she broke down crying and explained that Flash had set her up.
Oh, no.
He had given her a package of heroin and told her to hide it in Bumpy's sofa. Then call him, tell him where the package was stashed so he could call the cops and report on Bumpy. Bumpy gave Lovey a few $100s for her honesty and told her to get out of town before Flash found her. As soon as she left, Bumpy called his guys up: Nat, Finley, Junie, Hoss,
6 and 8.
Stubby, Steve, Obadiah, Richie, and George for a meeting.
What happened to 6 and 8?
I don't see Stick and 8 here. Maybe he was in jail.
He was doing 5 to 10.
Yeah, very good. Very good. No, Your Honor.
That's just my name.
Yeah. It was his way of telling people he was 14. Like, I'm 6 and 8.
You do the math.
So he calls up the crew. They're all strapped to the gills, ready for a fight. They're about to go hunting for Flash, but it was already too late. One morning, May 15, 1951, Bumpy went through his usual morning routine, waking up at 5 a.m., eating a breakfast of a raw beaten egg and a glass of milk.
The fuck?
That's Mark Wahlberg's routine.
Yeah, kissing his wife goodbye and heading out to work.
With that nasty breath?
Yeah.
Raw eggs and milk.
Is that Jerry? Throughout the weeks prior, various drug enforcement agents had been trying to set Bumpy up, asking him where they could score smack. But he'd just laugh in their faces and move on. But this morning he was stopped by James Chappell, a narcotics agent. He explained that he and his partner needed to bring Bumpy into the Narcotics Bureau for questioning. Early the next morning, Bumpy's lawyer, Lyndon Bauer, called Mamie to let her know that Bumpy was being charged with selling drugs. His wife denies that he was ever directly selling drugs and maintains that he'd been set up by Flash. Bumpy's friend Nat bailed him out of jail with $25,000. Mamie had that much cash in the house ready to go, but they didn't want to attract too much attention from the feds. She found out that Flash had been picked up by the cops for selling an ounce of heroin in December 1950.
Holy shit.
He told the officers a story about having been selling drugs for Bumpy. They offered Flash a deal for spilling his guts about Bumpy's supposed drug dealing, and he took it and sang like a canary. While some of the narcotics officers saw holes in Flash's story, the feds on the case saw an opportunity. If they could put the heat on Bumpy, perhaps he would flip on the big dealers in Harlem and they could wipe out the drug trade. Trying to catch the big fish here, you know what I mean?
Right, and then they could move in and sell their drugs.
That's right.
Bumpy got a new hotshot lawyer named Ben Lowenberg, who tried to get the whole case thrown out, but was stymied by the feds. Federal prosecutor William O'Brien had all the local papers calling Bumpy Johnson the most dangerous man in New York. Lowenberg was filling in as many motions as possible to keep the case delayed. Jet magazine reported on Bumpy's activities in their Celebrity People section in 1952. The actual trial got postponed until June 53, at which time Bumpy was 47 years old. While he was out on bail, and even during the trial, Bumpy felt certain that he would be found not guilty. His confidence was misplaced. After a 3-day trial, a judge found him guilty, and a jury found him guilty, and a judge ended up sentencing him to 15 years. He appealed his sentence all the way to the Supreme Court, but they refused to hear his case. In 1954, Bumpy is mentioned in Jet magazine's crime section. The writer notes that he's beginning his sentence after he lost his appeal. Bumpy was first sent to Leavenworth in Kansas. He was there for a little more than a year before being transferred to Alcatraz.
Fuck.
Just outside.
Out of the frying pan and into the fryer? Is that
Yeah.
Bad to worse.
Yeah.
He had some issues with the authority figures at Leavenworth and Alcatraz, but eventually he settled down and kept to himself, so long as nobody bothered him. Even while incarcerated, he still held sway over his associates on the outside. He was still making deals and presiding over disagreements from his cell. He requested a transfer to Lewisburg prison in 58. Inmates there were allowed more visitors than at Alcatraz, but instead...
Row over.
Instead, he was transferred to Atlanta. In December, the warden wrote to the director of prisons about Bumpy, describing his disobedient, hostile, resentful, and almost insanely race-conscious.
Oh, you... Who would have thought?
Insanely.
Yeah. Like a madman.
Whites, blacks, Latinos.
I don't think like that.
I'm not insane.
After a series of violent altercations with other inmates and staff, Bumpy was returned to Alcatraz in September 59.
Fuck.
On June 11, 62, Frank Morris and brothers J.W. and Clarence Anglin made the only escape from Alcatraz that is successful. Many escapes have been attempted in the past, but because Alcatraz sits on an island, you need a boat to make your way to the mainland. In the 1989 book Riddle of the Rock, the only successful escape from Alcatraz, a former Alcatraz prisoner, Joe Carnes, said that he told the guys to solicit help from Bumpy with their escape attempt. Bumpy had strong enough connections on the outside to secure a boat, for instance.
No way.
Yeah, I know a guy with a boat. San Francisco.
I don't know anything about paper mache or dummy models, but I can get you a boat.
Mamie asked Bumpy about it in later years. He'd only say that he'd been friends with one of the guys that escaped, and he always tried to help a friend, especially when the price was right.
No way.
January 1963, Bumpy was transferred to Lewisburg Prison in Pennsylvania. He was at Lewisburg for less than a month when he was informed that he was going to be released on mandatory parole, or what was called mandatory release at the time. On May 4th, 1963, Bumpy was traveling back home to Harlem. He was 58 years old. Word spread through the neighborhoods of Bumpy's arrival, and an impromptu parade broke out on 7th Avenue.
Oh, my God.
Waves of people following Bumpy's Cadillac, cheering and throwing ticker tape. His long absence from Harlem had created a serious power vacuum that led to a lot of infighting and chaos among the criminal set. Mamie had also been raising Elise's daughter, Margaret, for her after she skipped town. Margaret called Mamie Mama and Bumpy Daddy. She thought they were her biological parents until she was 6. Bumpy was still running a dozen spots where gamblers could place numbers bets, but he didn't reopen a bank himself. He also opened an exterminating business, Palmetto's Chemicals on 2nd Avenue. He went into business with a guy who owned a restaurant and bar supply company. Life was good again. One of his favorite pastimes was betting at the Belmont racetrack. He wrote a poem about the joys of spending an afternoon at the racetrack with his beautiful wife. It appeared in an issue of Crisis magazine. Friends, and that included lady friends, often accompanied Bumpy to the track as well. He had always been a womanizer, and after being locked up for so many years, he certainly wanted to make up for lost time.
Oh, God.
In 1965,
Checkers.
Mamie found out that one of Bumpy's girlfriends and track buddies was the film star and singer Lena Horne.
Wow.
Oh.
Still got it, this Bumpy.
She stayed with Bumpy, but she refused to watch another Lena Horne movie ever in her life. Bumpy was now Harlem's de facto ruler, even though he was now in his 60s, no longer the young scrapper he'd once been. In the afternoons, he did business from a club on 135th Street, sitting in a back booth to be approached by his subjects. People came to him in need of a handout or a job opportunity. Total Godfather shit.
Yeah.
Gangsters and wannabe gang leaders came to him to settle their disputes or offer advice. Politicians came to him to get out the black vote. Black militants came to him for program funding. In February of 65, Bumpy went around to all the businesses, gangsters, and East Side Italians soliciting funds for Malcolm X's funeral. A couple of years after he got out, he heard that New York Charlie, the pimp who had pointed him out to the cops, was back in New York. His body was, anyway. He had died of a heart attack, and his family wanted to bury him in his hometown. Mamie discovered that Bumpy had some kids procure him a bucket of horse manure. He was planning to dump it in the coffin.
Oh, my God.
Mamie and his buddy Junie were able to talk him out of it.
Procured him some horse manure.
Yeah.
Manure! I hate manure. New York Charlie hated manure, dude.
Charlie, yeah. Fuck, man.
He just, we're like, during the funeral, he just walks up there and
yeah. It's like, if you thought it was bad when I cut his face up, check this out.
sleep with the shit.
I hate this dude.
In case anybody was wondering.
Yeah. I'm the piss on the motherfucker.
Well,
damn.
the horses.
So nasty. So yeah, they talked him out of the horse manure caper. And around 65 to 66, Mamie started noticing Frank Lucas, who she called an illiterate country bumpkin, hanging around Bumpy while washing his car and taking out the trash at Palmetto's and running errands. She speculated that Bumpy kept him around for comic relief, though he never respected him.
Oh, my God.
An article printed in New York Magazine claimed that Frank Lucas had been Bumpy's bodyguard and driver for over 15 years, but the math doesn't add up. Bumpy was never out of prison for 15 years in a row the entire time he lived in New York. Meanwhile, not everyone in law enforcement was looking the other way when it came to Bumpy. Narcotics officers continued to surveil him, his home, and his businesses night and day. In December of 65, he staged a sit-down strike at a police station protesting the surveillance operation against him. He was charged with refusing to leave a police station, but the judge acquitted him.
Well, refusing to leave a police station.
We're trying to get you in here, but not this way.
Yeah, you can't stay here.
Until we bring you here.
You got to go out there and do stuff so we can bring you in here.
Oh, you've stayed here too long. I guess you're staying here now.
Yeah, you know what? You're coming in. I'm going to have to bring you in.
I'm here.
All right, guys, good job.
All right, walk him out, walk him in.
You got to get out of here, dude.
If you
Get over here.
While he was in Alcatraz, the doctors told him that he had a bum heart.
That's not nice.
Signs of his declining health weren't all that noticeable until early 67. In February, he suffered from a major heart attack. Thankfully, a heroin dealer named Charlie Coles had been seeing him leaning against his Cadillac, clutching his heart.
Ah, now I know that look.
And he got him to a hospital in time. I was like,
what did you give him?
Luckily, a heroin dealer was there. All right, strap in, pal.
And we don't mean
God, that heroin dealer.
Yeah. Doesn't hurt so bad anymore, huh?
That's pretty good, right? Come and see me when you get out.
In March, he was at the Aqueduct racetrack with his buddy Big Bobby Jones when he suddenly keeled over. Big Bobby scooped him up in his arms like a baby and carried him to his car and then drove him to the Queens Hospital.
Where he met a heroin dealer.
They wanted to keep him overnight for observation, but Bumpy checked himself out. In May, he had another heart attack while having lunch at a restaurant on 125th Street, also with Bobby Jones. This time, Bobby took him to Harlem Hospital, but again, Bumpy refused to be kept overnight. I don't know what's going on, dude.
He didn't like the look of the place.
Sadly, just a few months later, Bumpy got arrested for drug dealing, but this time he'd actually done it.
Yikes.
Since about 65, Bumpy had been dabbling in the drug trade, but cocaine, not heroin. Come on.
65?
Yeah.
Man. I mean, he's forefront of the...
Yeah, he's a trailblazer.
Yeah.
This shit's going to be huge in 15 years.
Your kids are going to love it.
Yeah.
A lot.
It took Bumpy a while, but he made his own connection with some Peruvian suppliers. On July 8th, 1967, 2 DEA agents approached Bumpy, telling him they needed him to come downtown. Instead of complying like he would in the 50s, Bumpy made a run for it. He led up police on a car chase all the way to the Van Wyck Expressway, heading for Queens when they finally forced him off the road. He jumped out of his car and tried to fight the responding officers. Allegedly, it took 6 men to get him down. This guy with a fucking bump.
Wow,
kicker.
it only took 3 when he was a kid.
You learned a few things.
Yeah.
Chess.
Yes. It took him a bishop.
He was indicted along with 5 Peruvians, and his bail was set at $50,000, which made me put up with no trouble. He hired a new lawyer, Samuel Segal, to fight the drug case, and for roughly the next year, things were quiet. He managed his legitimate businesses, number spots, held court at the restaurant. But it was said in later years that he was disillusioned with the criminal lifestyle. He saw how drugs and violence had torn apart the lives of so many people in Harlem, and it made him do a lot of reflecting on his life and legacy. On July 7th, 1968, he was at a Wells restaurant at close to 2 a.m. A waitress had just served him a plate with a chicken leg and hominy grits and a cup of coffee. He fell over and clutched his chest. He was deceased before they could get him to the hospital. He was 62 years old.
Fourth heart attack?
Thousands of people attended his funeral at St. Martin's Church on 122nd and Lenox. Because he'd been under indictment for drugs, most of his celebrity friends like Ossie Davis, Lena Horne, Duke Ellington, and Sidney Poitier stayed away. But Sugar Ray Robinson and Joe Louis were there. Bumpy is buried at the Woodlawn Cemetery in the Bronx. He made millions of dollars of cash in his life. He earned the respect of the powerful and the famous. He got arrested more than 40 times and spent many of his best years behind bars.
Yeah.
He was a man of many contradictions, but his death marked the end of an era in Harlem and New York City as a whole. And I just think, there's some stuff here. You find a much more gentlemanly side than a lot of these gangsters.
Right.
Of course, he's a maniac, but there's also this thing too where he's a little guy, he's just a plucky fucking bastard, and he just gets to the top by being having the balls. He's just got the fucking balls. And he was just really good about taking care of everybody.
Yeah.
And in this story there's there's just not much betrayal or snitching really,
right.
For a gangster story too. And like I said, I love it because it's he is one of the Luciano again. He was extradited, I think.
Yes.
Or deported. I think he was deported.
By...
Yeah, I think he was deported because
to Italy.
Yeah, because he wasn't a full citizen, and that was the only way they could get rid of him. And I think maybe they did it in conjunction with the prison sentence. As soon as you get out, you're getting out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But another guy that lived, basically to his death, staying a gangster from Italy, and it's quite a legacy.
Yeah, that whole era of Harlem is we mentioned in the beginning. So there's a couple of movies, but there's not the romanticism that you get with the Italian American mob.
Oh, certainly, right.
But there's so many stories to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does creep in though quite a bit. I don't know how much it was known, how much his name rang out in New York, and if that faded or whatever. It
seemed like at least in Harlem. You get out of jail for 10 years, they throw you a parade.
Yeah.
Christ. I mean, you guys have never done that for me.
No.
There's a character in Shaft named Bumpy Jonas. In 72, there's a movie called Come Back Charleston Blue. The title character is loosely based on Bumpy. He's a criminal with a positive influence on the community.
I mean, he was in the celebrity and the crime sections of Jet. Had a poem published in Crisis, which was like I believe I think it was a black magazine, but about civil rights, I think.
Yeah. He was portrayed in Escape from Alcatraz, of course. Lawrence Fishburne played him twice, once in Hoodlum and also in a 1984 film called The Cotton Club.
No shit.
Yeah.
Who should we get to play Bumpy? Who's played him before? Oh, that's Fishburne.
In 89, Unsolved Mysteries told viewers it was Bumpy who helped them escape Alcatraz.
No way.
And then, like I said, in the episode of The Wire, the All Due Respect episode, there's a bunch of characters just talking about Bumpy Johnson. And, of course, American Gangster, that's where it started. It was after that movie came out that I think it motivated Mimi Johnson to come out and be like, all right, I'm going to give my side because this Frank Lucas guy is full of shit here.
Right.
They wrote a book called Harlem Godfather, The Rap on My Husband, Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson. It was with her and writer Karen Quinones Miller. And it's currently the only full biography in print. And it definitely gets into the misconceptions, particularly about Frank Lucas. She would live only a year after the book's publication. She died in May 2009 at 94 years old.
Wow.
Nice.
When the UK Electronic Music Act Prodigy was released from prison in 2011, he titled his first release the Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson EP, followed by the Bumpy Johnson album.
Are you kidding me?
No.
The Smack My Bitch Up guy?
Yeah.
Cut my clothes up, guy.
Yeah.
And then comes a character based on Bumpy in the game Mafia 3. And then comes the Godfather of Harlem series. And here's a little look at the man and his mug shots, Aaron.
There he is. It's a normal guy. Now, in this one, he looks like a woman.
Yeah. That's
Mamie.
This one, he looks like a woman. Nice.
And we'll get those up on the Patreon.
Nice fur.
Good guy.
He doesn't really look that different. What's we got to wonder the age of all of these. Oh, 54, 59.
Yeah. There's the 47 one. He did the 10 years. And yeah, he was arrested over 40 times, so you can really have a pretty good selection.
Yeah.
You can do a flip book of mug shots and watch Mage in real time.
But of course, this was compiled by the excellent and beautiful Laura Crawford.
Thank
Thanks
you,
be
Laura.
to her.
Fantastic job.
And it was just so much fun.
Yeah.
I really
it's a good
enjoyed.
one.
I enjoyed getting to know the Bumpster.
Me too.
Yeah, we've done a few about Harlem eccentrics now.
Yeah.
A lot of some mobsters.
Yeah.
One cult man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the two brothers that had their little
That's
nests.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And you've got a Bumpy Johnson yourself.
I do. Yeah.
Currently. It'll go away.
It'll go away.
On its own.
Play chess with it.
God willing.
Use
Yeah.
the bishop.
Yeah, them playing Chess Weekly was a real delight
Yeah,
to
that's
find
cool.
out.
Yes,
about.
that's very
I
fun.
loved that.
Yeah.
And I love this thing where he just fucking slices people up with knives like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
I mean, what a fucking lunatic.
Slice him, dice him.
Yeah.
Pulling the guy's fucking eye out and saying he wants spaghetti and meatballs? Ooh.
That's how you get on Luciano's good side.
Yeah. You know what this fucking prick says to the guy who's on the ground?
He says he wants some fucking spaghetti and meatballs. Oh, dude, I love this fucking black guy.
Yeah. Guy gets out of the hospital, they put his eye back in his fucking head. He goes with a gun. He's eating the spaghetti, the fucking guy. He's eating the meatballs. He shoots him, it goes through his fucking hat. It shoots this broad. She's dead. Down on the ground. Bumpy says, I'll never wear a hat again.
Can you believe the balls on this fucking black guy?
Well, that's it. We did it, gentlemen.
All right.
Fantastic.
Yeah, super
job.
fun. Thank you again, Laura. We love you.
Mhm.
I'm going to say goodnight. My name is John Fahey.
I'm Aaron Pita.
Rapper soap.
Good night, everybody. We love you.
Good night.